stuff that can be, taken into court if necessary.
And
when necessary.
We missed Ian's rap there as well.
That's not a bad thing.
That is a good thing.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing.
Actually, I think we had some people leave because of it. No, I'm kidding.
We lost everybody. Like literally everyone's gone now. It's all pointless.
Mike tossed everyone.
I'm heavy on the trigger. Anybody that remembers Happy Hour when we first did it, the first 2 Fridays that we did it.
But to be fair, some of it were Russian threat actors that spammed us with goatsy porn.
Well, they were.
Yeah,
they were all about the goatsy porn. Funny you should mention that, Ian. The first Happy Hour we did, Sean inadvertently posted the URL with the meeting ID and the password on Twitter. And of course, we started up the Happy Hour thing. And within like 3 minutes, it was like, Christ, there's 500 people here. We didn't realize it was this popular. And of course, the 500 people were all spammers and scammers and dickheads and stuff. Yeah, that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably what's taught me to be a little bit more security conscious of online events going forward. But that's fine. Right, we've got a few people in now.
Yeah.
So, welcome to the people that have joined. I'm sure we'll get new folk as the evening continues, but let's make a start. It'll be a little bit rough and a mess because that's how we roll, right? But welcome to the Beer Farmers Winter Warmer. This is the first, a couple of things really. It's the first event that the 4 of us have done together as an event that is us, which is great. So let me welcome Lisa and Nikki to the Beer Farmers. Done that already, but our first gig, right? So that's super cool. We've done quite a lot of events, about that. We have an agenda. The agenda is, I'm happy to say, established. We have a plan, which is again a rarity for the Beer Farmers. So the plan goes a bit like this, and it'll be subject to change and chaos and train wrecking and all that kind of thing throughout the evening. We're going to start with a game, and the game is effectively slide deck karaoke or presentation carnage, call it what you like. And the idea really is that we pick teams, and there may have been some lobbying and mucking around the team makeup, but the teams look like this. So it's Lisa and myself are going to take on, we're Italians, by the way, so that's got nothing to do with it whatsoever, and we're going to be taking on Nikki and Ian at this game. And the idea of the game is that we've written a slide deck that Nikki and Ian are going to present to you all, and Nikki and Ian have written a slide deck that Lisa and I are going to present to you all, and we've no previous visibility of either or slide decks. So we've got no idea what the content looks like, no idea of anything. But the idea is that we've got to present them in a very official and business-like way. And we'll leave it to the audience to decide who the ultimate winner of the challenge is. But please interject with questions, because there's so much good content. I can definitely speak for the slides that Mike and I put together. The content is exquisite, like next generation, unbelievable content. So please don't feel shy. Put questions into the Q&A for Nikki and for Ian and obviously us, because obviously they would be delighted to answer your questions. And if they laugh, they lose. So absolutely. And it's just effectively a state of the nation presentation from the pair of us about current affairs, the things going on in cyber, etc., and the world at large. Because Nikki was busy, preoccupied. Nikki's had a pretty busy week, generally work-wise and personally. She wasn't around when we decided to draw lots on who would go first. Luckily, Lisa was, and she answered
like proper Italian fairness there, wasn't there? In the
we wouldn't be
Italian. Send it to me in a private message.
We wouldn't be Italian if there wasn't a certain amount of racketeering going on, would there? So yeah, Lisa correctly answered the drawing of lots question, which meant that she could elect Nikki and Ian are going to go first. So I've got a slide deck that Lisa and I have put together. I'm going to share my screen for those two folks to present. The
You
only
just
thing
look
that
at Lisa's face. I am shitting myself. Look at Lisa's face.
I'm
This
so
is why-
excited.
this is why Ian's wearing sunglasses so you can't see his tears. Ian's muted himself.
You're
which
in
means
for a
that
treat, everyone. I really
just-
hope you enjoy it because it's so insightful.
I'm going to have to work out a bit later on how we unmute people.
Okay, I'm now unmuted. Why are we getting a random mute?
I don't know what. I think when you mute yourself,
Yeah.
You can't unmute. That's right. So
It doesn't come back from mute?
apparently not unless I do it. But
Oh,
somebody
wow.
tell me how. Somebody tell me how to fix that, and
Okay.
we'll sort it out. Right.
Okay.
Hopefully, Lisa turning her camera off doesn't mean that I've got to turn her camera back on. No, that doesn't mean that. Right. That's brilliant. Right. So the only thing that you've got to do,
Right.
apart from entertain the people that have turned up, is tell me when you would like me to flick to the next slide.
Right.
Okay. Other than that, rock and roll. Right. Let me make sure that this is all going to work. I didn't finish the agenda. Shit. Right. So before we continue, the agenda is we're playing this game, and then the four of us are going to have a little round table chat about the goings on in cyber this year, highlights, lowlights, whatever. Then we're going to do the Bear Farmers legendary Golden Cowbell Awards 2022,
Yes.
where we hand out accolades to people that have done great things.
Not all accolades.
Can an accolade be a positive and a negative?
I'm not sure. I always thought an accolade was like a generally positive thing.
If you receive an accolade, you think,
An indictment, I think, is a negative thing.
yeah, accolades and indictments. I think that's a fairest way to explain it. The good, the bad, and the ugly in the last 12 months of cyber, and there's still a month left. Christ. And then finally, we're going to invite everybody to come in as a panelist, effectively, and we'll have happy hour.
A full, giant.
If you want to stick around and have a drink and a laugh and all that kind of thing, tell people you love them or you think they're a dick. Don't mind. There'll be some moderation. Right. So, without further ado,
All right.
this is the bit where you hate on PowerPoint because it occupies all of your free screens whenever you fire up the presentation.
And you have to be very careful about what's on those other screens.
So you turn off.
I know.
Turn off presenter view because no one's, and then switch. Oh, for fuck's sake!
I like Nikki's background, and this is a very festive background.
really festive, isn't it? It's about as festive as Lisa's background. That
Right, hang on a second. How do you swap bleeding?
jumpers in.
Nice.
I look like a funeral. You look like you're going to somewhere dodgy in King's Cross underground. And Mike just looks really uniformed with a nice, Bear Farmers background.
Yeah. Mike is really the most professional of the one.
Ian does look like he's in a bunker. Tom just commented that Ian looks like he's in a bunker. He does.
Undisclosed location.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so let's do this. Why does it keep flicking through the bleeding slides?
That's it, because we're done. That's it. Game over.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
We didn't laugh once. Oh, okay. Here we go.
Right,
Okay.
you are
We shall
Go.
mute.
you are
All right.
go. When you need to flick to the next slide, just let me know.
All right. Well, Nikki, do your introduction, and I'll do my introduction, then we'll go.
Hey everyone, I'm Nikki Webb, Global Channel Manager at Custodian 360 and clearly one of the beer farmers. And I'm really looking forward to this evening to presenting a cutting edge look at the threat landscape provided for me by Lisa Forte and Mike Thompson. Mike Simon's overwhelming.
Yeah. So, hey, I'm Ian Thornton Trump. I'm known as Fat Hobbit online because I live online. I do pretty much nothing. And then when I checked my actual pedometer today, like my app that I've got, I've done 62 steps. So my New Year's resolution is there under no circumstances am I going to invest in any more cardio. I think I've used up my allotment of that. Let's go to the next slide. Woo! Cutting edge threat landscape. All right, so in this presentation, both Nikki and I are going to have some comments, and we're going to cover a bunch of things. So one of it is threat intelligence actually exist? Where does most of the malware come from? A deep dive into ransomware data. This will be really, really interesting, folks. Hold on to your hats because we've got all the facts here for sure. What can Brad teach us about PGP? Yeah, this is really interesting about how racist PGP is, but we'll get into that in a little bit later. And our role models in tech right now and why, and then some great link posts we've seen on cyber. Yeah, there's like one or two out there. And to just be fair, set the stage here. I believe Nikki and I, our certifications right now, all of them have been from dodgy Indian certification companies. Am I right, Nikki?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And great LinkedIn posts. We've got lots to talk about. We've got the dick pic library. Yeah, we're definitely
we do. And our startup project Dicks for You, which is a by subscription Dicks thing that you can send to random people. Okay, so we'll go to the next slide. Oh, tell a joke to make the audience laugh. I thought the dick pic one was pretty good. Dicks for You.
If you saw my dick,
all dick, but nothing but dick.
It's laughable. Dick pic library. Yeah, it's
all right. Or as we like to say, Richards. Anyways, let's move. Yeah, well, it's so funny that this comes up because in a way it's an early detection process for a potential STD encounter that you may have. I believe this is known as the cock cam, and it fits on your thing, and it essentially takes pictures in what I believe. I used to call this a really, really long time ago before I got into cyber, something called POV videos. Nikki, any thoughts on this? Is this threat intelligence in a way, in a fashion?
Well, I suppose it depends where it's going into, doesn't it? Whether it's threat intelligence, is it a threat? Is it friend or foe?
Yeah, since there isn't a lot of Wi-Fi in prisons, I think it's a very limited application. Like, to be fair, unless, do you think it has like a built-in SD card for storage? I guess the whole thing is that, like, if you laugh because of something I said, or I laugh because of something you said, that doesn't count as like laughing, I think, right? But maybe it does. I don't even know what the rules are. To be fair, neither do they. They're just going to make it up so they win anyways. But
also, we don't know if they're laughing or not.
Yeah, that's good.
Your face when
by the way, this is the small size and it wouldn't work for me at all.
Clearly.
Yeah. I could wear it as a thumb ring though.
Yeah, I think we might want to move to the next slide before this goes better quite quickly.
Yeah. All right. Right. Okay, so this is hilarious. 3 use cases for threat intelligence. Okay, so sheep is a really interesting threat landscape. I lost Nikki. She just pieced out. Apparently, she can't deal with this. So let me do a quick kind of explanation of this. So, in a lot of cases, you have sheep that unfortunately are molested in the highlands of Scotland. And one of the things that is really important is to keep your sheep unmolested by threat actors masquerading as, well, drunk chavs on the train up from Edinburgh to the north, Edinburgh from the north. So in a way, this is really about using and finding evidence to prevent sheep molestation. Do you have anything to add to that? Thank you.
Absolutely not on the top point, no.
Okay, so in a lot of cases, though, what we've determined is that the molestation of sheep is actually not done by native Scots people, unless, like, for instance, they're given some money. But generally, it's perpetrated as a crime by Russian agents who feel that the destabilization of Scotland can be achieved by various fairly, I would say, non-mainstream content that they then live stream to the internet. So you've heard of sheep tipping. This is sort of the next evolution of the threat actor into sheep molestation. So we are very concerned. And DNS, always plays a factor to make sure that the Wi-Fi is working and you're able to upload to the YouTube channel. You know, in a lot of cases that the Wi-Fi is pretty dodgy to begin with. So, you know, it's best that you get one of those little hockey puck 5G modems in order to make sure that you're getting well, it needs to be 60 frames and 4K at minimum. 8K is preferred. We can move to the next slide. Yeah, you know, it's really interesting when you talk about stats that 92% of all malware can be traced back to a single source. It is really true. There's no question in my mind that all of the malware is invented in small little towns in the northern part of Italy and is widely distributed through the various mafia connections to the rest of organized crime groups in the world. This is one of those irrefutable things that, as a result of gathering all of the threat actor IP addresses from Twitter, we're able to pinpoint those locations onto Google Maps. And you know, Nikki, because didn't you run the investigation for a little while before you were your unfortunate resignation due to profiteering from taking a piece of the action on the Google what was it, Android store?
Absolutely, and consequently, obviously, I fell out with Jonathan Data. So yeah, that was my career over, and the investigation over, completely over for me.
Well, it's amazing that you bounced back so well, because to be fair, I think, you know, it was really unfortunate that his voice is slowly being censored by other people that question him. And that, you know, believe that his support of the NSO group is somewhat distasteful in the community. But we do wish him well and hope that he gets the mental help he so desperately needs.
He does, and also just on that note, just because this is a public forum and it will be recorded and posted out, just please people keep calling him out, because there are people out there that do look up to him and follow him. So please, if you see stuff and you know, factually that it's not true, then yeah, call it, because that's what we should be doing as a community. It's serious there and dark. Sorry. Next slide.
So it isn't a coincidence, because in order for the NCSC to continue to gain its funding, cyber attacks need to continue for the foreseeable future. And then when you start layering over some really interesting data, when you see like the health, the NHS data, and when you see the various animals that are under threat from poaching, what you're seeing here is the interrelated and depth of organized crime groups operating, whether they're ransomware, whether they are running the prostitution and human trafficking that Manchester so badly suffers from, but also the illegal harvesting of ivory. And you know, we always think that it's you know, it's a cyber crime, but the reality, Nikki, is that it isn't always a cyber crime. There are just some bad actors that use their phones for illicit purposes, and then it becomes a cyber-enabled crime. This is how we end up at that ridiculous 10.5 trillion growth in cybercrime. You know, and I mean, I just don't even know what to say, because, you know, if we didn't have the NCSC, there's a good chance that we wouldn't have any cybercrime, which is then linked to the human trafficking issues in Manchester, as well as the poor elephant population that's being harvested.
So are we basically saying that the SC are partly responsible for the huge growth in STDs in Manchester as well, Ian?
But it's because due to the annual conference, right?
Tell me, I've never been to a conference in Manchester, so
I'm telling you, they certainly know how to put back a logger or two in that town, like you wouldn't believe. Right. We can go to the next slide then. Yeah. So this is really interesting. This is really one of the key issues that we have in cybersecurity today, is the way that you can break various encryption algorithms by research and taking a slice of it at a time, right? You know, one of these things is they have really long peaks, right? 128-bit, 64-bit, 256-bit, et cetera, et cetera. And the thing about this is if you take the first 8 bits, right, and you calculate and brute force those 8 bits, there's a good chance that people are stupid and they just use the same iteration of their password over and over again to meet the complexity requirements. So really, if you solve the first 8 or 10 characters in a lot of ways, you solve the whole thing. You get the whole bread and loaf, right? And then when you put like the salami and the cheese inside of it, which is your entropy, right? Then you're really dealing with the whole sandwich, as opposed to like just a loaf of bread, which on its own is pretty boring, if you ask me. But you put some meat and cheese in there, maybe a little butter, and toast it up. Man, you got a great algorithm. Nikki, what do you think? Is PGP really a good recipe for a great sandwich?
No, not in my opinion. And your choice of sandwich definitely isn't my choice of a good sandwich filling. Yeah, we're gonna have to leave it there.
Are you more like a mayo prawn type of sandwich, or what do you say?
I'm a good old-fashioned cheese and pickle sandwich.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's old school. My mom used to make those, but one of the problems with the cheese and pickle sandwiches reminds me of like those really fancy teas, which, as you probably know, I'm sort of a disaster if I get invited to them. But I guess when you deconstruct a loaf and you cut all the crusts off, all you're left with is the makings of a great cheese and pickle sandwich. Yeah.
You are, but then if we relate that back to cider, all you're left with, if we take the crust, the robust bit off around the outside, you just left with the soft and fluffy stuff in the middle, which isn't really enough, is it?
Yeah, I'm getting super hungry now and want me some of that. So
Have
that
a bit, and it's fine. We're nearly there. There's not many slides left, I'm sure.
I hope so. It's not 300 in the deck.
Did we check how many slides it was supposed to
No, they didn't even number them, the cretins.
You're fine. Just another 12.
Oh, okay. Moving right along.
have a drink. Let's have a drink. We can pose.
Wow, that's a really disturbing cloud image. And this is really about how the only way that you can possibly store all of your perverted stuff is really in the cloud, Nikki. I don't think you can really buy hard drives that big anymore.
I don't like the way that you just said that, insinuating that I keep loads of offensive stuff anywhere, let alone in the cloud. Yeah, I mean, on-prem cloud, which is safer. I don't think there's a good argument for either anymore. I think it's down to sort of individual organizations' preference, and also in the line of work that I do, I work with lots of people that don't have the option to not be on-prem. I think the way that vendors have moved it and shifted it massively, and well, mainly since sort of our forced like digital transformation during lockdown, it really gets my goat that there's a lot of organizations that cannot be in the cloud. There's a lot of systems that organizations work with that cannot be in the cloud. They have to be on-prem. It's kind of like the security vendors all just run away that way, and yeah, they've kind of forgotten about those people. It's one of my bugbears with vendors. There's a long list.
Well, all I'm going to say is I do remember an experiment where a person decided to see what the maximum amount of data that they could put into Amazon S3 was by writing a script to download every Pornhub video offered for Pornhub. And eventually they were on a free trial to try and find that. So, this is the important thing that cybersecurity research brings us is what are the limitations, both human and machine? A cautionary tale. We should move to the next slide.
Yeah, and it's a cautionary tale to me, and I'm just going to put this out there because everyone will find this hilarious that knows mine and Lisa Forte's friendship. Possibly over the years, I've made Lisa Forte Google some really inappropriate things, and she's needed therapy for it. I've just Googled Goatsy.
Right.
I had him.
Yeah, I click on the images tab. That's something.
Yeah, I did because I am that person. Yeah. And it's sat there glaring at me. Let's move on.
Yeah. Our 2 top role models in tech. Wow. There's just so much to work here for, right? Wow. I think he is a visionary because, I feel like, well, first of all, I mean, you could think that if he's a billionaire, he could afford a haircut. But I think it's a cautionary tale about what happens when you have a 21-year-old that suddenly becomes a billionaire. And it's a cautionary tale for everyone out there that should you ever be super young and become a billionaire, you better have a lot of money set aside for all the legal defense that you're going to need.
Absolutely. I also think as well, you kind of have to, put the best foot forward. And when you've been caught, like he has been, and the only thing he's upset about is he's been caught for lying and being a thief and a fraudster. Actually, do you know what I mean? If you're going to have balls that big to carry out the fraud that he did, then I think you've got to come forward and say, you know, hands up, I've been caught, I'm an arsehole. But yeah, Sam didn't get that memo. So
I feel like Sam is, in a way, the zeitgeist of the crypto universe, where, you know, everyone is finding a way to use the system to ensure that they're incredibly well looked after at the detriment of anyone that has actually been part of it. And I'm not surprised that every single exchange that goes sideways here ends up getting sued within its inch of its life.
yeah.
So this is kind of interesting because it's really the juxtaposition of people named Lance. I knew a guy back in the day who's named Lance, and he nearly killed himself in a car accident. True testament to the resilience of mankind and modern medical technology. But honestly, no matter what type of Lance you are, you know, spaceman or cyclist or any other profession, I truly feel that if you really want, in this day and age, to give your kid an advantage, name him Lance. You know, change his name legally to Lance, because people take lances seriously. I mean, they certainly did in the medieval age, right? Big stick, big horse, big guy in armor. Didn't usually end badly for the other person on the end of the lance, if you know what I mean, Nikki. What are your thoughts? Do you think just naming your kid something gives them an advantage in life?
Absolutely not. No.
Really?
No. It's
Do you-
true.
do
There
you-
are some names that command respect, or there's certain names that I don't think you should call your children. My husband, for example, has got 3 first names. He's Andy, David, James. So that those kind of parents, I don't understand what goes through their mind. But Lance Armstrong, I think his absolute grit and determination, I don't think it would have taken much for him to be a tech billionaire, because I genuinely think whatever the man does or turns his hand to, he would succeed at.
So I'm just doing a deep dive into root cause analysis here, right? I'm thinking that it may not be the first name Lance that is really the deciding factor. I think it might be the profession of astronaut that really sets you up for success. Because I don't think, I mean, other than dying horribly in a fire, I've never seen a poor astronaut.
True. Yeah, true.
So maybe it's actually the profession that lends itself to a major success for people, and not the first name. I think that's a real good takeaway, a solid takeaway from this presentation today.
Absolutely.
We'll go to the next slide then. Yeah, so what do you think? I recognize this, my friends. This is, I think, really about the juxtaposition of either embracing full-throated support for the Ukrainian people who are in an epic struggle against a protagonist nation in an illegal war, and trying to leverage that into a sales and marketing campaign, which I would describe as bad, or just being outright and saying our organization is respecting Russian sanctions and we're refusing to in any way support the Russian people, and we're making a big donation. I think for me, LinkedIn is really where I do 2 things. One, I look for an organization that will be upfront with me and offer me discount certifications to continue my LinkedIn career. But for me, the hilarity ensues when I get job offers for something that is grossly underqualified for where I currently am, which could obviously result in a deep, dark depression that I feel that my worth is decided by some obscure recruiter from a firm I've never heard that is suddenly deciding that I make a great SOC team leader. Right? And then when I asked them to take a good look at my professional background, they post a job description. What do you think, Nikki?
This particular article incenses me. I think it's disgusting. I'm very glad that the person that was sent to took it public. I don't think that any disaster in the world, it doesn't matter where it is, what it's involved in, everything, it's just sick marketing. I have quite a voice on it. I get myself into lots of trouble for it. I'm a vendor myself. However, I don't agree with snake oil vendor tactics like this. Yeah, I don't agree with it. As for
I prefer them honestly to just put a diary date into my calendar, because there will be a part of the stressful day that we have that I look forward to, almost what I consider a therapy session, because I go on to those meetings with the random vendor that's put that diary date into my diary, and all I do is just talk. And I don't even let them say another word for the full half hour. And I feel so good about that after, Nikki. You know, I get a lot of things out. You know, my experiences in high school being bullied because I played Dungeons and Dragons all the time, rather than focusing on the appropriate things that I needed to do in an all-boys school, which was, you know, get tattoos and lift weights. It's a lot like prison and almost the same level of violence, to be fair. But I feel like, you know, I've always been very critical of LinkedIn. I had a terrible dating experience on LinkedIn. You just can't imagine, you know, how it went in so sideways. And I came to the conclusion, everyone is very angry on LinkedIn.
Wow. Right, Ian, I'm just going to say one thing quickly. You do realize that we're on the same team, so we're not supposed to be making each other laugh. Because
I thought that was the whole point. That
we're supposed to not laugh, right? If we don't laugh, we don't lose any points. Every time one of us laughs at each other, we lose a point, right?
Oh, I didn't even know there were rules.
Next time you want to talk about Lance Armstrong being an astronaut, just bear in mind that we're on the same team. I'm just going to touch back on that because I've seen Rick put in the chat about that last slide, Mike.
Is he helping us out?
I think, no, it's not that. I just think with that particular marketing campaign, what really upsets me about it is that there will be people who it's kind of like social engineering, but there will be people that will have done this because they thought that they were helping Ukraine. They would have given up half an hour of their time for £50 to go towards that. Did any money go towards the Ukraine crisis relief fund? I doubt it.
I doubt it too. I doubt it.
Tactics. And I do, and I know that I get banned from LinkedIn a lot for calling out shitty things like this, but it's a ban for a couple of weeks. It's not the end of our life. Seriously, if vendors or any organizations are doing stuff like this, call it out because it's just really shit behavior.
Amen to that, sister.
I could, like, so is that our last one?
No.
Oh, this slide. So this is what I really want to underscore here. It's super, super important that also you include a whiteboard and you make the person write code during the interview. Don't you agree, Nikki?
I'm going to take this slide. So I'm a mentor for Caps Lock and have been now for a number of terms. I absolutely cannot stand this process. I cannot stand the 3-hour interviews. You know, you've got to go and meet a bloody family and their dog. You've got to present to 7 members of the board. You've got to do a 3-hour presentation. Why? Why do they have to do that? I've been on the process with some really talented young people that are coming into this industry through Caps Lock, who've put their heart and soul, literally their heart and soul, into presentations to get to that stage and be told that they were never going to get a job anyway because they weren't qualified enough. You know, the higher the position, the slower you should hire. No, that's bullshit, because
I agree.
The slower you hire, the less chance you're going to get of getting that great person for that role, because they're going to have been snapped up somewhere else. That's just common sense, surely. I don't know. I'm not a recruiter. There's recruiters on the chat. They're going to tell me stuff. You know, don't leave them hanging either. When you interview somebody, you know the minute that they leave that room. I do when I interview. I know when they leave the room. Am I going to have them back for a second interview? Do I like them? Are they compatible? Are they not? And then bloody let them know. Don't let somebody chase you or wonder how their interview went or how you know, did they do well or not? They might be going straight back to back into another interview the next day. Give
Yeah.
them a chance, you know. There's HR processes, and I'm not going to blame recruiters for it, because it's not. It's HR departments within organisations that get my goat. It's just it's outdated. It's ridiculous, and yeah. And also, why would you want to have somebody sat in front of you for 3 hours that's not compatible with your company, and that person sat there, they're definitely, they don't want to work at your company. Why do you want to waste 3 hours of your life drilling them?
I had the best one too. So I got one of these things where you get to second stage, right? And in order to sort of like further qualify me, they sent me one of those isometric tests, right? Which is all behavioral based and stuff like that. And I randomly chose the answers to it. I didn't actually put any thought whatsoever in it. I just raced through the entire thing. It took me all of 10 minutes, right? And so they get back to me and they say, well, you know, it's really interesting, the few things that came up in your profile. I said, oh, indeed, really? And then I finally said to them that I don't believe in this. This is almost a violation of the GDPR if you're using it to as a screening process. And oh, by the way, I just, once I got into it, thought that, well, since you're wasting my time, I'm going to waste your time thinking about how you're going to ask me questions on stuff that I completely randomly answered. So again, we need to fight back, Nikki. We need to fight back against this kind of bullshit. We need to fight back about those job descriptions that are posted that are just bullshit. We need to make a mockery out of those people when they ask for, I need 15 years experience in Kubernetes.
Yeah. Oh, and another one that please, recruiters, HR people, stop doing. Do not put roles out there that say that they're entry level roles. And then when you get into the nuts and bolts of it, and you know, you sort of get down to it, you've got excited about it, you start to fill it all in, start to put the effort into doing stuff, then find out that for their 19 grand a year they're going to pay, they actually want you to have 6 years experience in, I don't know, 5 different areas of cyber.
Yeah.
It's bullshit, and it needs to stop.
100%. Couldn't agree more with that. And it's a travesty. It really is. And I know some really great recruiters who insist on making sure there's a range associated with it that's like market rate, open to negotiation, you know, are clear about what the qualifications are. Because I've been that guy that has gone down that road in my career where, you know what, they're like, oh yeah, well, because you don't have a CISSP, you don't qualify. I'm like, all right, cool, we can play that game. You know, and then they end up with someone that has like 3 years of experience, CISSP, that takes a job for 40K. And we all know it's going to end in tears for that organization. All right. My Instagram is perfect.
God's way of telling you that you have far too much spare time. And what? Yeah, fair enough. I've had a really crappy week, and Twitter has literally saved my life. So it's God's way of telling me that I have too much spare time. Possibly I do. And do I have to work a bit later in the evening because I've messed about with, you know, a lot of the people that are in the audience today? Then so be it. I'll take an extra 3 hours in the evening work to, actually leave work or finish work with a smile on my face. Instagram, don't even get me started on Instagram. Stay toxic is probably the best hashtag at the moment on Instagram. And
well, I know now, as a result of my Instagram feed, I have body issues and I never had them before. Okay. But as a result of the constant super handsome men that I see all the time, I now feel insecure about who I am. But what I will say about social media is really interesting. So this year, earlier this year, about 4 months ago, I took the apps off my phone. So I'm only now on social media when I'm on my PC. But that's not really a big deal because I'm on my PC all the time in a lot of ways, like all of us are. But I felt like it was really good. What was interesting is there's a TED Talk out there about this, or like an interview. And I think he even posted in our TBF channel a couple months back on how social media is actually a way of occupying your time and competing for your time, competing for your leisure time, trying to convince you that social media offers some sort of benefit to yourself of being there, whether it's connected or the dopamine or the chemical reaction you have with having a post liked and shared. What's really interesting to me is the underlying message in social media is getting you to buy something from someone else, right? It's not about the pure joy of seeing, pictures of Poppy, who I love dearly, on my feed. It's about the ads that are in between my feed. It's about getting and convincing you that rather than spending your time like reading a book or going for a walk or gardening or doing something I would call more constructive, that you're one click away, you're one scroll away of something that's going to change your life. And what's amazing is that people have bought into this concept that their leisure time is better spent scrolling through a phone than investing in relationships, investing in connection, investing in even a few pints up at the pub, right? And I feel that social media has robbed us, this current generation, but the generation before, with all the myriad of problems that they have. Nikki, I think social media has been such a destructive force. Now, the counter argument of this is that social media is what got President Barack Obama elected. But somewhere between the election of President Barack Obama and the Trump era, social media turned into a weaponized thing by threat actors outside of our control, and that we decided that it was easier to just believe the bullshit than it was to try and analyze and fight the bullshit. All right, we can go to the next slide. Hopefully, Nikki will be returning very shortly. Thank you and Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. The perfect sign off from the master of disaster himself, Mike. Yeah. Any final thoughts, Nikki, on this?
No, but I do think we've done incredibly well, because I actually thought that I was going to laugh from start to finish and we were going to lose really badly. So I know how much Lisa likes to cackle, and I know how much Lisa cannot stop laughing once she stops. So I've actually got really high hopes. So the only thing I would say is there is a question from Rick Ferguson, Mike, please. Is there any way that we can change it so that when one of us is speaking, you can see the other person? So like now it will be you and Lisa. Yeah, because he'd like his senses to be overwhelmed.
That's fine. Yeah.
We could just turn off our video, Nikki, and
yeah, that's fine. But even when we were doing it, I think I'm right in saying just put a thumbs up someone in the thing. I think when we were doing it, when I was speaking, they could just see me. When you were speaking, they could just see you. Is that right, Rick?
Yeah, I think that's it. What it's the focus speaker, then you see their camera. If anybody's got a tip on how to do this as the host, then drop it in the chat.
Because that means that Lisa can just let you talk and she can just sit there and laugh a lot. I'm not having that. We're already on the back foot anyway, because we had to go first because Lisa cheated, right? Secondly, Lisa's vicious with her slides, and actually I'm quite impressed with Goodwin Worth. And thirdly, she's laughing already, so we need to be able to see her at all times, Mike.
I thought you did really well there. It was weird because it was really like funny for a bit, and then at the end it was really serious.
Yeah, it got serious very quickly.
It did.
I wasn't sure if we were supposed to be serious, but after the cyclist and man on the moon bit, I was like, I need to rein this in because it's going to make me laugh. So I was like, I've got to be serious now, because if not, Ian's going to make me laugh.
Oh yeah, it was very good. Very good indeed.
Are we allowed to know how we did on the points or not, or is that after, Lisa?
I think what we'll do is after we've done ours, or you've done us, or however you want to describe it, then we'll put it to the audience and they can decide who.
Lisa's scared. I can see she's scared. Look at her.
Who the winner is. So it's incumbent now on you to share the deck you'd like us to present. Well, I just.
Okay, so I'm having a little bit of a problem, Mike.
Oh, right. Yeah.
No, I have it. The presentation's ready to go. But when I hit the whole, when I hit the presentation mode, right, I lose the ability to get at Zoom. So that's the thing. Like the whole thing becomes the presenter mode and then the deck on another screen. And I don't know how to shrink it down here.
Can I make a suggestion? Why don't you just email it quickly over to Mike? Because it doesn't really matter now if Mike sees the slides, does it?
Oh yeah, that'd be brilliant. Yeah. Also, and that would give me an excuse to go and get another libation. in that. So let me just send this to Mike. I think I know Mike's email address. I might have sent him some stuff before. Let me go and do this right now, Mike. So fill in for just a bit, Mike, while I send this to you.
Hard.
Right?
Where have
Tell
you sent-
us-
Where,
tell us-
where have you sent it to, Ian?
can I send it to Zen?
You can, yep.
Okay, I'm going to do that right now, and I've hit the attach file button, and it's good. Here we go.
This is good. This is good. Stalling because Lisa's gone for more beer, which means more laughing. I'm
Yeah,
quietly confident here, Mike, and you're looking a little bit scared.
Mike, why
I'm
don't you
good.
also why don't you tease the thing that we're doing with that magazine that time that we hid in that place that time?
Yeah, so we like hiding magazines in bushes, don't we?
We do.
Particularly Info Security magazine. It's my favourite.
Yeah.
And we're doing a thing a week today, actually, on the 15th.
Yeah.
Which we'll drop a link in. Oh, Christ, we've sent enough links out about this stuff, but it's their end of the year party, and we've been cordially invited to co-host it. And what we're doing is a panel talk. So 3 of us, which she'll be Ian, Nikki, myself. Lisa will be somewhere on the other side of the world doing stuff.
I think she's in Japan.
Japan.
Yeah.
Trying to work out whether there are any native animal species, I imagine.
I hope that she gets to go to a zoo with the 1 or 2 starving animals in it. Because
Yeah.
they only have to.
Fine, because clearly she spends a lot of time on Goatsy. There's plenty of animals on there. It's still sat there on my screen glaring at me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Tom actually raises a great on what? Am I on mute?
Lisa's trying to shout something, look, and she's on mute.
Okay. Tom
Okay,
raises a
hang
really good point. Pokemons are native to Japan. So Lisa, capture all those Pokemons. Pokekai?
Poker people.
Bukaki?
No,
What-
you can't about poking people. No, not
To be fair, I'm not going to Japan in order to feedback something which you guys could just bloody Google. To be fair, that's a waste of time.
Google Lies, it's a Russian disinformation campaign. Huge story coming out in the Intercept on that 2023. It's been run by Russians for years.
So I want to know, Lisa,
On
Goatsy.
Wikipedia.
I want to know, Lisa, how you knew about Goatsy.
I didn't. Mike put it in and I had to message Mike and I literally said, I don't know what this means. Is this
Did you Google it?
spelling goat? And I had to Google it.
Did you Google it? So did you? So you probably read the opening thing that I did, and I still then, when I read about opening his anus and expose his rectum, I still
I don't even want to hear the words, to be honest.
Wrong. I choose to work with you people.
There's a huge gap in the cloud.
I'm basically bullied. This is a form of bullying.
It's your slide.
It's
How's
not.
that? You submitted that slide to make me laugh.
No,
How's that?
Mike submitted it. I didn't know what it referenced.
You did by the time it was put in front of me.
That is true. I did
True,
know by the time it had been shared with you. That's very true.
About changing your business name. Oh, hang on. Rick's just said, yeah, Red Goatsy. That's
No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Mainly because out of my control, Company's House does not allow for offensive names. So
it's not offensive. Goatsy in its own right isn't offensive. It's just
Google it and tell me that that's not offensive. I think it's thanks, Rick. Cheers for just doing that. Great.
So the challenge is then, if you lose now this slide deck competition, you've got to change your name to Red Goat, capital S, capital E. Rick votes.
No, I don't. I'm not going to do that. That's not going to happen.
You could register a website which is redgoat.se, which I think is
also not going to do that.
Swedish domain.
No, that's not going to happen.
And we've lost the Hobbit as well.
Yeah, we're not going to start till he comes back. He may never come back. It wouldn't be the first time.
I didn't really think about it. I should have gone to the Hobbits and done this actually, because he's just down the road.
Has he gone to the? He's gone to the pub, right? He's left. I know he's back.
I know he's back.
He's back and needs me to unmute him. Right, there we go. Yeah. Right,
Mike.
Hey man, let's do
I just needed a replenishment.
a repunishment.
Yeah.
Just just to point out, by the way, that when you were talking to people about your isometric tests, it got quite a few laughs because I don't think it means what you think it means.
It's like make a triangle, and I struggle with that. I didn't know how to do that, mate.
I'm really nervous about this. I'm not sure if I want to. I think I might need to have a call with and go from family emergency.
Little misconfident all week with the little messages in the morning about how great.
Look, I talking again. I can dish it out. Everyone knows I can't take it. I can just dish it out. Come on.
Well, the good news is, Lisa, that we're in control of the slide deck.
Yeah, that's the good news.
Sweet. Oh, the Italians have control. Okay, let's do this.
Brilliant.
Always.
The
So
bad, you might have overdosed on Russian cyber bang bang.
Good luck.
Yeah,
So
let's do this.
let's crack
Come on,
So,
Team Italy.
Quick intros. So I'm Mike. I'm the beer farmer. Lisa, over to you.
Yeah, I'm Lisa. I'm a caver. I'm a climber. I do some stuff with cyber. And somehow I've ended up being a beer farmer, but purely under duress. It was not out of choice. I was forced into it. We won't go into the details because obviously it's with the courts at the moment, but yeah.
Indeed. But we're here to talk about all sorts of stuff that we don't really understand. And that's
We're doing
exactly-
a pitch by the looks of things. We're pitching
doing a
something.
pitch.
Yeah.
And the beer farmers over many, many years have been heavily involved in rolling out modern tech,
Yeah.
opportunities for people to
Definitely.
invest with
Innovative.
very promising returns and all that kind of stuff. We recently rolled out our TBF-TX Bitcoin exchange or cryptocurrency exchange platform, which anybody is allowed to send us money to, and we will carefully invest it on your behalf. More recently than that, the UK announced a bunch of bank closures of physical premises of banks, which the beer farmers then proceeded to go and buy. So that's great. We're operating a deposit-only scheme, so you can drop your money off with us, and again, we will take great care of it. So yeah, the future, your financial future is very safe in our hands. Lisa,
Yeah, it's really safe.
next slide. And on the matter of the state of the crypto market, I think we all saw it as a bubble bursting the minute that the bubble burst, which was when the bubble appeared. Take a random person of no fixed identity and invent a thing that has actually no intrinsic value, make a load of people believe it's got some kind of value, and there you go, you've got a marketplace. And that's where we are with cryptocurrency, I think. Lisa, what are your thoughts?
I think it's really booming right now. I think there's a lot of opportunity. It's really
There she goes. He popped. He's gonna pop.
It's an interesting space to be in right now. There's a lot of opportunity. And I think it's definitely the place to be. It's to the moon, as we say in the biz, to the moon, So let's move on to the next slide.
I like to call it unreal estate. Hang that there for a second while Lisa recovers herself. It's unreal estate. It's buying and selling things that don't actually exist. And I'm a big fan. I mean, I'm so proud of my investments in both Ethereum.
We're massive fans.
Yeah, my investments in Ethereum and Bitcoin over the last 12 months have plummeted 86%. That's a race to the bottom I'm massively, massively pleased with. Long may it continue till I've got nothing left. Long may it continue till I owe them money.
Okay. So something that often gets said in our crypto industry, which I presume is what we're in as we're doing this pitch, is are you being lied to? I would say no, because actually what we're saying to you is you will give us money and we will take that money. We will use that money how we wish to use it, and maybe you'll get it back and maybe you won't. You're not being lied to. It's the same thing with NFTs. We're sort of saying to you, buy this monkey picture, but you're not actually buying the monkey picture. You're buying a receipt for the monkey picture that isn't even really a receipt. It just kind of points towards something that used to be there. So really,
I love a monkey picture, me, by the way, Lisa. I have to say, I love a monkey picture.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing, you see. You can't go to the moon with these ideas if you're worried about being lied to. You've got to just be more open. It's very close-minded, I think, of society to be saying, I'm being lied to about crypto. It's, you know,
I completely agree. But I think
completely agree.
but I think in general terms, are we being lied to? Fuck yeah. We're being lied to because every 39 seconds there is a cyber attack. Well, realistically, but it's probably more frequent than that. I think everybody will agree. It's probably under the second mark. We're in milliseconds here, people. We're in
How do you know that
milliseconds.
someone's not in your bank account right now or in your house? Someone could be in your house right now. It's exactly the same with crypto.
We need to be spending money.
We need to be spending money.
You know, and
fast.
You can spend money on a snake oil solution, which we're all targeted with endlessly. Or
you know what you're getting. You know you're not getting anything genuine. So it's actually more legitimate than, say, a bank marketing something in a more legitimate way. In some respects, it's more honest, I would argue.
Well, we've got a logo and a website.
Exactly. We've got a logo, we've got a website. You know, we've got like a regulator investigation against us. How many banks can say that?
Absolutely. Very few. Very few. Yeah.
Very few.
I was chatting with Martha Lane Fox the other day about this stuff, and she founded lastminute.com, you may remember. And she suggested that we put lastbusinessstanding.com up as a website. I thought it was a great idea. Make a load of money and then just fuck it all off.
And I think also targeting vulnerable people is key as well.
Always key. I mean, we've been working on a project, haven't we, to put the legs back on people that have had them blown off in war. Yeah, and that's working really well. You know, we priced it reasonably at £2,500 sterling per leg. Yeah, and it's working out really well for us.
And they get 0.2% of that.
They do.
Victims get 0.2% of that, and we take the commission on top. So
yeah, and out of the 6 missing legs Victor's got, we've got 3.
Exactly. Yeah, a spare.
And we're hoping that our GoFundMe will get the other 3 back by Christmas.
I think it will.
Wonderful present that is.
It's a massive present. But I think the key here with this slide, look, the crypto security industry is strong. It's so strong. It's unbelievable. I mean, like, some people might come out and you see like the haters, right? The crypto haters who'll come out and they'll say there's heist after heist after heist. There's 20 million, 200 million being stolen in Bitcoin and Monero. And, you know, yeah, okay, fine, there is, but there's also gold being stolen, like that happens, ivory, that happens as well, lots of ivories being stolen, like poaching, bats, there's lots of crime. We could list other crimes, we just list crimes that are happening. I think maybe it would be good for our cause.
I think we could. I mean, bank robbery is not a thing anymore because there's no banks anymore, right? And petrol stations are now car washes.
What was the problem with bank robberies? Centralization, because there was a bank, right? If you decentralize, there's no bank.
It's true. Absolutely true.
It's such a good point. Wow.
And I think, in fairness, the crypto security industry is strong, providing that it practices strong crypto.
Yeah, because it's in its name. Like, it's in the name.
The clue's in the name.
The clue
absolutely
is in the name.
Yeah, and I love the Peruvian monkey. I'm glad we talked about monkey photos earlier on, Lisa, because they've preempted it for us, haven't we?
In fact, preempted it.
Created an NFC for us. So here we have Comical Ali. PR is a new crypto marketing. Well, I think so. I mean, maintaining the theme of crypto, which obviously the creators of the slide deck have got really bored very early. But yeah, I think it is because we see it day in, day out. You know, I get emails from vendors that are telling me that I've already been breached and would I like to do something about it. I reply with, it's too late, I've been breached. Have you got any decent media people that can stand on the steps of our offices talking to ITV and Sky? So PR, it is all around the PR nowadays. You know, back to an earlier slide, it's been nanoseconds since the last cyber attack on a business. We see it all the time. All of your employees are effectively insider challenges or insider threats. Don't like the term myself, but we see it all the time, don't we?
Look, I'm just going to throw out that the definition of PR from the Public Relations Society of America, and I've got it here, just like prepared. You know, it says a strategic communication process that builds mutually beneficial relationships between organizations and the public. Mutually beneficial relationships, which I think underpins the crypto landscape and the NFT landscape and the blockchain landscape. I really do. I truly passionately believe that it's for the benefit of the few people at the top of, let's say, the pyramid. Just hypothetically, we'll say the pyramid, and then everybody below obviously pays in so that the people at the top can profit off of the number of people recruited into it. Kind of, if you imagine like a pyramid, basically, it's like that as a scheme.
So like a triangle,
like a triangle scheme, like a triangle scheme of, you know, mutually beneficial relationships. That's what it is.
Isosceles or scalene, or the other one,
Equilateral.
Equilateral.
Actually, I do think it's more isometric. Rick's just said it. I agree. I think it is isometric, you know, and that's the beauty of capitalism in many ways. So
I love it. I mean, reading the FTX mission statement, it was get stuffed as long as we stink money out of people and get away with it. And I thought, fair enough.
It worked for a long time. It was really successful.
The very essence of capitalism. I think the getting away with it bit was where it fell down.
Yeah.
What we got? Oh, we got a typo. That's a point dropped before we even get any further.
Wouldn't have happened if it were being produced in a decentralized way.
Well, is it? I mean, we say we think so, but on reflection, I'm not entirely sure.
No, and I think
they say that ignorance is not a defense, but I think that's bullshit.
Look, I'm going to stand up for Sam here. At, you know, SBF. Some people are saying he's a fraud, right? And it was all premeditated. Like, we've all been in the position where we've created 130 different corporate entities to hide transactions. We've all been there. It's accidental. You wake up one morning, you're like, oh my God, we've created 130 corporate entities and we've hidden everything from the regulators and we've lied and we've cheated. That's happened to all of us. So why we're throwing stones, I really don't know. Like, he without sin. Let's just chill out, okay? Let the guy, I think he's doing a smashing job, you know? I think he's doing a smashing job. He's like 29, he's on the run. Could you handle this sort of stuff on the run? I don't think so. He's cool, calm, collected, smashing it, Sam. Absolutely smashing it.
I mean, that creation of 130 business entities to hedge money and hide money and stuff. You're right. We've all done something similar. You know, I remember my eBay basket with like £5,000 worth of purchases in it.
Yeah.
3 a.m. press buy now, and then you worry about it later, right? But I think you're right. As long as Sam's giving away a little bit of his money to maybe good causes.
Yeah. I mean, who are we to question philanthropic behavior? I mean, exactly.
We've never been there. We
haven't. No, exactly. I 100% agree. Yeah. Totally inspiring message.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think we're looking at three of the most exemplary people that have ever fronted organizations in modern history. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because not only have they managed to completely swindle large amounts of money out of the public pocket and done it in broad daylight with everybody watching but nobody asking questions, they've managed to spend that money on really beautiful things.
Beautiful things.
I mean, I'm familiar with Baroness Michelle Mone, who's taking a small holiday at the moment from the House of Lords in order to concentrate on her family.
Yeah, it's really noble, actually, when you think about it.
You know, family comes first. So what she's
100%.
done is bought a beautiful £10 million yacht, and she's named it the Taxpayer. And I can't think of a better name to honour the great people of the British public.
It's like clap for the NHS, but in reverse, I feel. Like, you know, it's like...
We're back to STDs in Manchester there.
Exactly.
And I'm not going to go through all three, but I've got to mention Baroness Di. Oh, another Baroness. The Baronesses, I mean, I don't know whether you get them in crackers or you get them in them little grabbing machines in Blackpool, but you've got a baronet. Oh, fantastic. But Dido Harding, again, fantastically wonderful human being. I mean, she made such a success of her career as CEO at TalkTalk.
She's one of the heroes of incident response, I would say. Probably one of the heroes.
When the chips were down, she was down with the chips.
She was. Right?
It's fair to say. But she
was a gift to the world. She was a gift to the world. I've just seen in the chat, 100%, you know. She gave so much, and it was a difficult time for a lot of us. So we needed that comedic value, which she selflessly did, which I think, you know, I wouldn't be capable of such nobility. So
I think the biggest thing that she gave to the British people, I mean, it's remarkable when you think about it. I can't think of any other entrepreneur or philanthropist that's done more for the British people. So
no.
we gave her a paltry £38 million of our money, and she gave us a spreadsheet that didn't work. Now, we've got to be really, really proud of our entrepreneurial spirit in this
It was
country.
world leading. They said
is
it was world leading at the
world leading.
time.
Yeah, so, we develop an app which is called Test and Trace. It doesn't work properly.
It was called Track and Trace, wasn't it?
It was called both. Interchangeable
Just
terms.
say interchangeable terms that end in trace.
Yeah, and Trace. And she took a measly 38 billion.
I know, it's basically free.
But you can't argue that
No.
You'd do it yourself, wouldn't you? You'd do it if you had the opportunity to milk 38 billion pounds of public money in order to buy. I believe she owns a yacht as well, or maybe it's a horse. She's into horses, you see. And I think she's named a prize-winning horse, the Taxpayer.
Cool.
So her and Michelle have got things that, it's great.
It's lovely.
Gotta
See
love it.
women
What we got
kicking
left?
ass.
Is it time to leave it all behind?
I love the use of the MCRN here. Just a massive Fat Hobbit did this 100% for my benefit. Yes, we are team MCRN 100%. No question about it. MCRN till I die.
Fair enough. Is it time to leave it all behind?
You know what? I think is the future for society, actually, and I've given it like a lot of contemplation. Like I literally walked out to my kitchen and got wine, thought about it, and came back. That's how much time I've put into this. Is that actually it's a really good idea to get Elon to go to Mars. I don't think we need to be so hung up on the fact that is Mars got an environment? Is it habit? Like, we don't need to be hung up on details. Send him to Mars, see what happens. If he survives, we could maybe think about moving there. It's just an experimentation that I think is really valuable to society, and that he should get straight on whatever it is he's built and go to Mars and just check it out. Just check it out. We don't need to be hung up on details like there's no oxygen or there's no atmosphere or there's too much radiation. These are just details that I don't think he should be worried about. He should just go and try it. Who knows?
I think you're right.
I think I'm right.
I think he would be very proud of himself to consider him being
We
the
would
first
all be
person
so
on Mars.
proud of him if he
We
went to
would.
Mars. Wouldn't we be proud?
We
would
would.
be so proud of him.
And he could set up Starlink all around the planet so that he can talk to himself endlessly.
Yeah.
Reassure himself that he is not an asshole. I think he needs that constantly just to be, we all think he's brilliant, right? I think it's fair to say we're all big fans of Elon.
We're massive fans of him going to Mars, I think.
Absolutely.
I think we all agree we're massive fans of him going to see if he can survive on Mars. And we'll just see what happens because, progress requires experimentation. So let's just see.
It does. I mean, if we want, we're talking about cost of living crisis and all that stuff. And obviously we've spoken about Baroness Moan and Lady Moan, whatever, Michelle. And we talked about Dido and all the rest of it. Maybe there is a space for him at the bottom of the ocean, because that's still massively undiscovered territory on Earth. And unless we come to a conclusion that perhaps we need him to be further away from the planet. I mean, I don't know. The sun, the first person to walk on the sun. Now that is an accolade, back to Ian's point about accolades and indictments. I was the first person to walk on the sun. I'm going to
just a quick shout out to Rick Ferguson. Yes, Rick, you do need to tweet that immediately, and I will retweet it as soon as you do. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I think there's so much winning to be had. It feels like there's the cost of living crisis and there's this energy crisis and like there's this draconian war of aggression perpetrated by Russia. And there's all these problems in life, but actually, no, everyone is winning. I think the key thing to blockchain is about how, it harvests green energy. Like a lot of people say that the proof of work algorithm, it doesn't, it's very anti-environment. It's not very environmentally friendly at all, but actually it's very green because there's no banks, and banks have like buildings and things. So decentralization is perfect for green energy. And the great thing is that if you buy the Beer Farmer FTX tokens, which are available right now in the metaverse, go to the metaverse. There's only 38 people using the metaverse right as we speak. Go to the metaverse. We're in the metaverse. You can buy the Beer Farmers FTX tokens. You can buy NFTs of each of the Beer Farmers, especially Ian, because he made like 50 of himself. We don't accept responsibility for that. But go and invest, because it's going to go to the moon. You can't win if you're not playing.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And you're right about, crypto mining is green. And when you think about
So
it,
green.
it is green. People talk about mining rigs and the fact that sap on energy and all that kind of stuff to mine just a very small amount of Bitcoin, and other cryptocurrencies are available, of
But
course.
you could have plants in that same room, which would be green.
Just think about that energy that's being used to mine coins, that's being wasted on things like hospitals and places for people to live in and keep warm. What we're doing is we're sucking the energy out of the world.
Yeah, sucking it out.
But putting it into the economy, Lisa.
Yeah, and that's where the magic happens.
Absolutely. We are giving the opportunities for the people going forward in the future. Very important.
Yeah. So returns are guaranteed when all of our TNCs are met. You need to invest responsibly, obviously. And it's something that everyone and everything can profit from. So we would really appreciate you going onto the metaverse right this second and investing now. Obviously, Victor, he's got legs that we need to fund as well. And what we promise is that we won't take all of your money that you deposit with the Beer Farmers FTX to invest into our own hedge funds. There's only 125 corporate entities within the Beer Farmers, so we're very small. And yeah, returns are guaranteed eventually at some point in your or your relatives' lifetimes.
We promise, we absolutely 100% guarantee that anybody investing will get a DM on social media from us.
Yeah,
at least once.
Almost certainly.
And when we reach a certain profitability, then we will mint our very own NFT for you as investors, which will take the form of a beer coin.
On the metaverse only.
And
only
you
available.
as a JPEG, and you have our word on that it will be unique to you and all the other investors that we accept. Once in a lifetime opportunity.
It is really for everybody.
As you say, Lisa, we guarantee that return, that DM from us.
Eventually, some of your relatives will see a return at some point.
They will indeed. So it's very important that if you invest in TBFTX, that you write it into your will.
Yeah, very
you've
important.
got that investment, and that you instruct the beneficiaries of your will to write it into their wills as well, ad infinitum. But we guarantee that there will be a payday at the end of it, and you will feel enriched.
Thank God.
I think we've just about got away with that. Fucking hell.
Well done, I have to say. Well done. I think I laughed more than Lisa and Mike.
But
that was tough. You picked the worst topic in the world for me.
I thought it was totally up your alley.
No, it's literally the worst topic.
You're rubbish at this. For someone who was giving it all Billy Big Bollocks all week about how amazing it was going to be, and you're going to make me laugh so much.
I think Lisa and Mike did an amazing job, because they went up one of the bad asses in the industry, or mostly just ass in the industry. I think. Yeah.
So I think what we need to do before we move on to the next segment of this evening, I think we need to have a vote from the audience.
Yes.
Who laughed the most. So all you need to do is put the initial of who you think. So it's either L and M, or M and L, whichever, or N and L. That's really complicated.
So close. I didn't realize how close our initials were.
Right. Okay. Just put the name then of the person that laughed the most. So if it's Lisa's team, But
Yeah.
Lisa, if it's Nikki,
Natasha, Rick, everyone who writes Lisa is getting blocked. Rosie, you're blocked. Blocked.
You cannot be
Blocked.
Yeah.
Blocked. All
Lisa-
of you.
I'm so here for this.
we're in a safe space. You can't do that. Like it's just angry.
Nothing that involves you is a safe space.
Even Andy Holmes said Lisa 100%. See?
Yeah.
And I think we can give the deciding vote to Professor Danny Dresner, who's in the house.
Oh, he's a professor, so his vote counts
Yeah,
double,
exactly.
I feel. Because respect. All right,
Tom, come on.
when we
Honestly, Rosie, you don't understand. I've been shitting myself about this because I know that I'm rubbish. Once I start laughing, that's it. And I actually think I helped
I
myself.
thought you maintained your composure quite well, actually, Nikki. I
Yeah,
thought
considering
you
you were
did.
trying to sabotage me and you were on my team.
Yeah, that was bad. A sort of an agent.
While we're waiting for the rest of these scores to come in, would you like to discuss Lance Armstrong now? Because I know that everyone's dying to discuss it. Who is Lance Armstrong, Ian?
Well,
Yeah, Ian, you completely you couldn't have missed it more.
I thought he was like the one ball guy.
That's not Lance Armstrong, Ian.
Really?
That's Neil Armstrong.
No, Neil Armstrong's the space guy.
Yeah, that was who the picture was, Ian. The
Bike guy.
picture was Neil Armstrong.
I thought the picture was Lance in a spacesuit.
Why? Why would Lance Armstrong be in a spacesuit?
Oh, maybe he was doing a product endorsement. But what?
God, I was like, Jesus, he hasn't realized.
Also, maybe slightly dyslexic. Okay, so I don't know what Lance I'm dealing with.
The guy is known for having one testicle and possibly abusing drugs quite a lot. Why would he be in a spacesuit?
Well, he could have been a soccer player too.
No, he wasn't a soccer player. He was a cyclist and he wasn't wearing a spacesuit and he doesn't look like Neil Armstrong and he's not the same generation as Neil Armstrong and there's no similarities whatsoever apart from the surname, which is Armstrong, which was the play.
Which is what made me laugh so much. Rosie,
Are they related?
No.
No.
Oh.
That's like just simply saying, is Louis Armstrong related to these people? No,
I thought that was their father.
same surname. No,
I thought that was their father. The father of modern jazz. And two brothers, Louis and Neil.
No.
Louis definitely was not Neil or Lance's dad.
Definitely Lance Armstrong and Neil Armstrong are very different people from very different backgrounds doing very different jobs. But it was very comical to me to watch you carry on. And I was suddenly very aware that you had no clue that I put a picture of Neil Armstrong up.
Well, thank you for attending my TED talk on the father of jazz and his two sons and how successful they were.
Dude, I've recorded this. I'm just going to cut that one bit.
Over and over again. Every time we go for dinner, who's paying the bill? Oh, Ian, would you like me to make this public today? Oh, no. You get the bill then.
I'm fine, maybe just a little bit. Lisa, I'll talk to you offline. And
Okay, anyway, we're going to completely change subject because Lisa is just procrastinating because Lisa lost. So I think that makes myself and Ian the champions of slide deck karaoke for this evening.
I'm not very good at losing.
okay,
I'm sorry, Mike. I let Italy down.
Look at the play.
well, what you demonstrated, Lisa, was that you've got a sense of humour, unlike the other two. So
That's
can't really
true.
argue with that.
That's
So
a
we
positive.
We just demonstrated that we have great content that's absolutely hilarious.
Our slide deck was better than yours.
And have
Is it going to be
fun.
more or less hilarious than when France win on Saturday? I'm just asking for a friend.
ooh, ow,
You underestimated the intelligence level on this side because you made a slide deck that neither of us bloody understood. So you can't find something funny. that
It's
you don't
true.
understand.
I did think you were more intelligent than you were. It was
There
a
we go.
surprise to me.
No, it's not a surprise at all. That's a lie.
As you can see, I'm supporting an African regime and their quest for gold.
Right.
What regiment Ian wears a Kangol hat?
Well, obviously a
Aggers and King's Cross. That's like Kangol.
yeah, right. I'm in disguise, Mike,
Right,
as
see,
a drug
so-
dealer and record producer.
what I used to trying to support the overthrow of the Republic of Kangol. Yeah.
Which actually, funny story, is made right here in the UK, not far from where you live.
Right. Well, yeah, lots of things are made not far from where I live.
See, that's why you can use a generic out. What's the next thing on the goddamn agenda, Mike?
Well, the
We're going to have a serious panel discussion now.
next thing is to talk about stuff.
Okay. Do we have
So-
topics that
I
are?
have topics that I want to talk about.
Well, Lisa, why don't you go first? Because no one wants to get a fight going online.
Are you suggesting that I am the instigator of fights online?
Yes, absolutely.
Never.
Good. I just want it for the record that if I die in the mountains at any point, I don't want anybody saying she was such a nice person. She never started any shit. She was just such a good person. I want people to be like, she was awful. Like, let's
I'm
just.
gonna invite a half dozen of your stalkers to speak at your funeral.
Please, I just want it a bit funky, just something a bit interesting. Let's not make it boring.
We'll bring the creepy farmer along, and literally, our headstone won't say Lisa, it will say just toxic.
Yeah, just absolutely toxic, that woman. Like,
yeah.
If you fall down a ravine in Japan, Lisa, and you're there for like 7 months, before they
Yes.
find you, then you're definitely going to be funky. Don't worry about that.
I just don't understand how, almost 6 months of continuously inappropriate text hasn't gotten a single response. Like, I mean, Lisa, how are you going to build your fan base if you never respond to them?
That's because you keep sending them to me, Ian.
Oh shit! Did I get the numbers reversed again? Oh damn! Sorry, Mike. I mean, wow.
The other thing is as well the dick pic thing, which the whole industry needs to understand. You actually have to put a name to it or a face, because funny enough, we don't go around and recognize people by their penises.
yeah.
Wow. Okay, so
And actually, this came up the other day, which was really interesting. I text Nikki, and I screenshotted a message that someone had sent me on LinkedIn. A gentleman had sent me on LinkedIn, and it said whoever his name was, and it said has sent a photo. And I was like, the instant reaction that I get when I see that, and there's no message, it's just so and so has sent a message. I sent it to Nikki, and we were both exactly the same moment. We were like, oh God. We know what this is going to be. And it turned out it wasn't, but it's like, really? Penises on LinkedIn? I mean, really?
wow.
They're not, let's be real, let's be really honest, they're not the prettiest things anyway. So any social media base or taking pictures of them, I find a bit odd. But on LinkedIn, it is supposed to be a professional network. I know that obviously Ian's used it for, or tried to use it for dating purposes, which
It didn't work very well. No, to be honest, it was.
on platform.
I had a much more receptive kind of experience with Grindr, to be perfectly honest.
But it's just not the time or the place, to be sending dick pics on LinkedIn. Do not want to get to the desk on a Monday morning and open up and see all the pissed drunk people over the weekend that have decided it was a good idea and that I really needed to see. Yeah, they're flaccid.
It's just it's the lack. It's to your point about the.
So what I'm saying,
Ian.
Yeah.
Don't ever do that again.
What?
Let me start a sentence and then just jump all over it. Don't ever do that again.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that, Mike.
Right, I know where you live.
Yeah.
You don't. He's in a bunker. You don't. No one knows where he is right now.
I know where the bunker is.
You know,
He's in the Republic of Kangol. Like, no one knows where that is.
I know where that is.
the hat with the logo.
I know your IP address, and I also control your internet.
You actually do. This is true.
So don't ever jump on me mid-sentence again.
Okay, I won't jump on you, Mike. That's fine.
Audiences there going.
I apologize.
Oh, fight.
No.
Now I can't remember what I was saying. No, yes, I can. So the it's, I think we'll all agree context is quite important, right? So if you receive a picture of a man's penis, there's no context, right?
Right. Yeah.
The top end of that man might be the most hideous thing you've ever seen. Certainly the bottom end of it is pretty fucking hideous when it turns up in your inbox.
Mhm.
I've got an old school view of the idea of the last turkey in Sainsbury's being what a dick looks like, quite frankly. So why anybody would want a stored picture of it, I've got absolutely no idea. And I've got a couple of rebukes that work. I think Lisa, we were chatting a year or so back on some talk thing we were doing about it. I think Sarah Ferguson was there as well. And
Duchess?
it was Ian,
Wow.
you're on 2 strikes.
What happens when he hits 3?
I don't know, but I really want to know.
He disappears. He disappears entirely.
But
Does it also come in large? Is a good response. And the other one is no thanks, I'll smoke my own. Right, Ian, go on.
Okay, thank you, Mike. And thank you very much for your moderation. I appreciate that. What I was going to say is, I think the key for anyone out there that's considering unsolicited dick pics as an option, especially as a can I book and get 15 minutes in your diary tactic that we see on LinkedIn, is really never use your own for plausible deniability.
That's definitely not the solution that I think myself or Nikki would go for, if I'm perfectly honest.
I don't
Use someone else's penis to send dick pics is not, I would not say that's like the holistic, nice
You're
solution.
saying dick pic proxy is not a thing.
Dick pic proxy is not a thing.
And it's also irrelevant because it doesn't really matter whose dick I open up. Not dick I open up. I'm not sick.
Why are you collecting penises of other men?
Dick pics I open up. I don't know who they belong to anyway, so it's irrelevant whether you send me a pic of yours, or Ian, you send me a pic of Mike's, or Tom's, or anybody else in the audience. It doesn't matter. I do not want to wake up on a Monday morning and go onto a professional network where I do business and see pictures of flaccid willies. End of story.
On a Monday morning, no one wants that. No one wants to be like, oh look, LinkedIn. Here's a little message. Let's open the message. Oh look, Bob has sent me a message.
No, any morning, not Monday morning, not any fucking morning. Actually, no
morning. Do you want to open? No day. Do you want to go? Oh look, a LinkedIn message from Bob. Let's open it. Oh my god, it's Bob's penis. Why does it look like an acorn? No one wants to see acorns. Okay, that's the message that we take away from this. We're moving this on away from penises. We're moving penises away.
This is really important. The best one is when you get one, a dick on LinkedIn, and you open it, and the only dialogue you've had with that person before that has been on your work anniversary and your birthday. So it's like, congratulations, Nikki, on your work anniversary, or congratulations, Nikki, on your promotion. Oh, happy birthday, Nikki, for the last 3 years. And here you go. Here's my flaccid acorn on a Monday morning.
Even better is when they've sent you the dick pic and then you don't reply, you don't do anything, and the next message they say is, can you like that blog?
Wow. That is, wow. I don't know what to say to that.
Sure, totally, man. That's amazing content. Thanks for
Of course I will. Great, that's great. Because
I feel like you're setting an impossibly high bar for people to meet, right? Like it's outrageous.
Look, you want me to like your vlog, you don't send me a picture of your penis. It's quite simple. Just follow that very simple rule and you'll be golden.
Right, let's move on from this topic.
Let's move this on. I want to keep on this topic though. I just want to have one conversation about this kind of topic, but in a slightly more serious way, which is the tendency, I think, when something happens, for infosec people to jump on it big time. And we saw that in the summer hugely with an Apple update, where basically I came back from a walk, I logged onto Twitter, and I looked at Twitter and it was going absolutely mental. There was this massive like 0-day vulnerability or whatever it was. People were losing their minds. Apple phones were being hacked left, right, and center. And when you looked into it, it was like, okay, not quite routine, but it was fairly routine security update that went out from Apple. And realistically, the threat model that came from it was that if you were a human rights activist or a politician, possibly this was a problem for you. But for average people like us, no, probably not. And I think the problem that you have with this is this mass sensationalization, and it does filter out of infosec, because I've had friends who have said to me, you know, oh, do I need to be really worried about this? Do I need to be really worried about this? It's overload. And I think we have to learn to moderate what we go nuclear on and what we kind of say, best to be aware of this, but it's not massive.
I'm going to jump in there before Ian does. I think reaction is key, is everything. So, you know, there are things that happen, and we've seen it numerous times over the years. You know, I've seen security teams at organizations, not just Apple, be hugely attacked because something has happened, been blown hugely out of proportion. I know people in security teams that have had death threats over Twitter, all sorts, because something apparently has gone wrong. I think it's about, as an industry, we're really influential in this, and I don't think we realise we all dick about on Twitter and we all, you know, banter with each other, we all have a laugh with each other, and it's really important to all of us. But there's something that happens, an incident happens, particularly this one that Lisa's referring to at the moment, the Apple one. We all jump on it, we all share it, our company's pages share it, our company's marketing team share it, we all like blow it and blow it and blow it, and it's not the same, but it is the same. It is still snake oil, because we're actually sharing stuff and increasing the hysteria around it. You know, we're creating more panic. As cybersecurity professionals, we're all here. So at least kind of keep a straight face now. That
Well, cyber commentators do it for likes and shares.
yeah,
Right?
100%. I was just going to jump in on that, Mike.
Yeah, that's exactly why it happens.
don't unmute Lisa, because it's really funny, because she's making all the funny faces and doing all this.
Let me do that before I continue. There you go. So yeah, cyber people on social media do it because it increases their popularity and builds their profile. And to the point about the Apple thing, it's not the first Apple thing, it's not the first Microsoft thing, it's not the first Cisco thing, it's not the first anything. You know, we saw it with Bluekeep, we saw it with Log4j, Log4Shell, whatever you want to call it, Heartbleed,
OpenSSL,
Spectre, OpenSSL, of
Log
course.
4j.
Everyone's got to mention that, Ian, already, keep up. But everyone's got a view that will increase their popularity, and it's all about hot takes, and hot takes lead to people going, oh, the gospel according to Saint whoever on Twitter. And that's one dimension of it. And of course, then as is mentioned, the other dimension is that it's adopted very, very quickly by the vendor space.
Yeah.
So we end up with, within days, if you're lucky, of an event breaking, whether it's a 0 day or not. You know, 0 days are actually probably the last thing you need to worry about. It's the 75-year-old Windows server that you've got. Obviously, I'm making that year up, but you know what I'm saying. That's been there publicly exposed forever. That's where you have potentially a concern, or your lack of filtering and business and controls over your email. That's where you've got a problem. So the vendor space then jumps in and does its own thing for likes and follows, you could argue, because what they want you to do is like their take and follow their products. So that's the kind of pool that we're all swimming in now as attempted would-be responsible security people.
But do you not think from that? Sorry, Ian.
Go ahead.
Do you not think, though, Mike, from what you've just said, as an industry, we literally spout about being ethical, and part of cybersecurity as a whole is about our ethics and what we stand for, and what's right and what's wrong. So ethically, there are people that aren't, that aren't in sales or marketing, that do jump on this bandwagon, and it's propaganda, and they peddle it and they sell it and they retweet it, which means its spread gets further and further. There is absolutely no regard for the security team. So we'll use Log4 as a good example. I know a few people that were hugely impacted by that. The security teams that are working on that, if we're going to talk about ethics around it, let's think about their well-being. I know people that worked on the Log4 in particular, like for 7 days solid. They didn't go home, they didn't eat, they didn't sleep, they didn't see their family. And you've got people, highly regarded people, and I can name people, and on the UK side as well, not just the US side, I'll be quite transparent about that were really going in on them within 24 hours of it breaking. Do they not think that, when that person that's working on that Log4 case in the security team might just get outside to get a cup of coffee and a cigarette? Yeah.
We talk about ethics. Yeah. I mean,
Twitter and that.
It is hard though, because I've made this mistake, full disclosure. So a few months ago, Lloyd's had an incident. Lloyd's of London had an incident. It was reported in the Wall Street Journal. It was reported and tweeted about by big cybersecurity bloggers with huge followings. And I retweeted one of them with the popcorn emoji. And the people at Lloyd's actually reached out to me and said, this wasn't ransomware. This was like a false alarm, right? Everyone had gone big on ransomware, right? The indicators of compromise weren't there. It wasn't ransomware at all. It wasn't even a compromise. It turned out it was a misconfiguration of something. But the point was, I actually proliferated that on Twitter because I read blogs and I read this Wall Street Journal article, none of which I'd actually waited for a statement from Lloyd's that had said that. And I'd retweeted it with the popcorn emoji. And on some level, I think you have to own that, because I didn't verify that. I proliferated it. Okay, I don't have a massive following, but I have a big enough following for that not to be completely insignificant. And I didn't check it. And that's a big problem. That's a big problem when we're talking about incidents that happen, when we're talking about vulnerabilities, when we're talking about patches that come out. if you're proliferating things that you haven't checked, you haven't verified, and you're just relying off of one source, it definitely made me realize that I need to be more careful with what I post. But I think you have to also own that a little bit.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I think that's where the waters are muddied a little bit, because we've gone from, we know, I mean, I know my day-to-day role that Twitter is a great source for like threat intel, and like, literally having your finger on the pulse. There's some great resource there and some great intel there. So we know about things quickly, and it's documented correctly, but we know about it quickly. There's a really fine line, I think, between sharing threat intel and sharing important information that can help other organization before it hits them or whatever it might be. There's a really fine line between that and spreading gossip.
Absolutely.
100%.
And you end up with a situation that we've seen many, many times, whereby somebody will latch onto a situation where a vulnerability, critical vulnerability has been found in a thing, right? And they'll immediately just pass off, almost in an automatic way, a tweet about it or a post on other social media, just to get attention, and that their finger is on the pulse, and they are effectively the gatekeeper of all the knowledge about this particular situation. And that's another problem that we have. But I want to just go back to your point, Nikki, about ethics. People in medical care are held to account over ethics. People in legal roles, public service roles, etc., are held to account over their ethics. Their behaviour is questioned. And if they're found in fault of that responsibility, there is an accountability that could lead to their removal from their position. We have no such thing. We have a kangaroo court in cyber. And the kangaroo court basically says, I'm the judge and jury. I will determine what's important. I will tell you what I think is important. And you will, to your point, Lisa, you're not the only person that's proliferated things that you thought were valid and worth sharing, and then gone back and thought, that's bullshit, actually. I wish I hadn't have done that. We've all done it. It happens all the time, and we don't get any better at it. We get worse. And people have made entire profile constructions over the years by being that gatekeeper, that font of all knowledge. And it makes life difficult, because when you're a defender in an organization or working in threat intel as a business or whatever, or whether you're providing services to businesses, you've got to actually spend time sifting through this stuff to work out what's garbage. And a lot of it is garbage, by the way. I would argue a great deal of the clear and present threats that we're told about are actually not really clear and present threats. They are potential threats, but often to a small modicum of user base. So back to Lisa's earlier point about when you hear this next big thing about how you must uninstall X app from your device, and because suddenly do it because you're going to get hacked. It's bollocks, right? Because the chances of you actually falling victim to this stuff are incredibly small. So, but we shouldn't have to do it. That's the thing that annoys me the most. It creates work, and it creates a loss of time that could be spent doing more valuable stuff.
And someone's just mentioned rack space as well, which I think is 100% true. Like the amount, like, let's be honest, this is all coming our way at some point, chances are, right? And we throw so much stuff at people who are in an incident, and yeah.
Right, with obviously in Reed, I think to have his say, and I think that's the problem. We operate, we conduct ourselves in life at the moment. It's like, be kind, be thoughtful about what you're saying and stuff like that. And I think we have to remember that on the other side of these incidents, it is real people. They're not robots.
Not sleeping and not eating and not showering. And
they're not robots. They are real people with real lives who ultimately, if there is something that's gone wrong and there has been a fuck up somewhere.
And they're our team.
Yeah, and yeah, we're all on the same side. Whether we're blue, purple, black, white, it doesn't matter. We're all on the same team. We're here for the good. And I just think that in this cesspool of blame and shaming and let's make a fast buck out of this, we kind of forget that there are real human beings on the other side. Yeah, and we've all done it, don't get me wrong, we've all joined into thing, but I try really hard now. I wait, I try not to jump on it. And I think Rick's just made a really good point from a vendor perspective. One thing we all never did was when another AV vendor had a false positive that caused a massive fuck up, no competitor vendor would ever comment on it. Therefore, for the grace of God, Grace of Dog, Rick said, but I think
Grace of Dog, love it. Okay, so a couple of observations. First of all, there's a little thing in cyber threat intelligence that we use when you are confronted with information coming across Twitter, coming across wherever. We tend to try and rate the source as credible and reliability. And we scale that from like 0 or actually 1 to 5 in both cases. So I'm going to call it out like it is, because this is the beer farmers and we don't pull the punches. Kevin Beaumont has an axe to grind with his former employee, Microsoft. So whenever there is a Microsoft vulnerability that he is commenting on, I would rate him as fairly reliable in that we know he's going to comment on it, but his credibility is somewhere in the mid numbers. The reason for this is that what these InfoSec rock stars with hundreds of, with 100,000 followers plus, what is happening is the entire narrative is being shaped by their quotes and by their tweets. The reality is that there are so many different compensating controls that can be put in front of these modern vulnerabilities. There are so many different configurations that are in use. There's so many different versions of the software, et cetera, et cetera. So what we need to do is, as Lisa said, is do some analysis, take a step back, take a moment, take a pause. But at the same time, we need to understand that the motivation from a lot of people, as Mike pointed out, was all about likes and shares and feeding the media machine of InfoSec, which actually, I think, in a lot of cases causes more harm than good. The sensationalization of zero-day attacks, of vulnerabilities, of big hacks, et cetera, doesn't do anyone good. It creates extreme fear and uncertainty and doubt, which is then weaponized by vendor marketing. But when we think about, and I wrote about this several years ago in Hack Read about the forgotten victims of data breach, it's the poor teams that are trying to put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
Yeah.
Right. And the compassion that we need towards those people, and I'm guilty of it too. I'm not saying that I am without sin in this particular thing, nor have I tossed, bricks in glass houses. But the point here is this: is let's be very careful about the InfoSec echo chamber that now has become weaponized against the individuals who are on the ground trying to do their job.
And I think, sorry, can I just add one point before you move on? This was really evident in the Uber incident. And what happened with the situation with Uber, the person in question who made a mistake, essentially, ended up being identified. Their identity was then put out on social media and proliferated across multiple platforms as the individual behind it. And actually, a lot of the InfoSec people were involved in that. A lot of people retweeted, talked about this individual who was a human being, who made a mistake, who, yes, caused a huge breach and a huge compromise. But essentially, this person was doxxed for their involvement in this situation. And there has to be responsibility for that, because what you're actually doing, as you said, Ian, is you're not helping our team. You're not helping the cyber people who are defending in that organization or who are managing the incident response in that organization. You are helping the attackers cause maximum damage to that company.
Couldn't agree more with that analysis, because honestly, the amplification and the pressure that then gets in the hands of the board and the shareholders of an organization, who are then calling the CEO, demanding an updates and answers, weaponizes the attack and makes it more uncomfortable, more difficult to get the job done. You're 100% on it.
Yeah, I think the last bit on this point, because it probably needs to move it on. I think it's always fascinated me about this industry since I moved over to it. If we, if our neighbour has their house burgled, armed, raided, burgled, whatever, if the local shop gets broken into, if someone gets attacked on the street, whatever else, we have this, overwhelming thing as human beings to have sympathy for them. Do you know what I mean? They're a victim of huge amounts of sympathy. And I really don't understand. I don't know how we do it, but I don't understand how that doesn't really translate into our world. When we attack these people that have been attacked, if they are victims of crime, why don't we treat them like that? Why do we suddenly make them you know, the bad guys. They're not, you know, they're doing a really tough job. We all know that. And, you know, they've made a mistake. We are all human beings, and it doesn't matter what shiny box any of us vendors produce or what shiny solutions, anything else. There is always going to be a human element. And as human beings, we are always going to make mistakes.
We are, but the problem, I think, is no one takes any responsibility for anything. You know, that's the big thing. You know, I run a team defending a company. Ian, you do your stuff as in threat intel, and Lisa and Nikki, you provide services to organisations that are trying to do my job, right? And that's pretty much the top and bottom of it. Our jobs are already pretty challenging, right? And therefore, there is no need to make it more challenging. To pick up on several points that have been made, it doesn't happen very often, but I will occasionally get that call that Ian talks about from the CTO or CEO going, "Oh, Mike, I saw this thing on social media or in the news, and I want you to get right on it." And I can sit there and go, doesn't impact our organisation. It's got nothing to do with our company. We're not at risk of any of this.
Unless the call, Mike, is, "Hey, I need Zero Trust. I heard it's really good, Mike. Mike,
That's
Zero Trust. Need you rolled out tomorrow." Click.
Yeah, that's the other side of the problem. But you know, it could be a quick conversation where I turn around to the CEO and go, "Look, doesn't impact the company. Not an issue. Forget it. Move on as you were." But it still takes time, and it's a conversation that doesn't need to happen simply because of a lack of responsibility by the people reporting, peddling, call it what you like, the messages and the narrative that you must pay attention to this because I have said so, whether I am a commentator on social media or whether I am a vendor selling a solution to a problem that you haven't got. And I think that is really the crux of the problem. And I think, to your point, Nikki, you know, we are all humans and we're all fallible. There's no argument about that at all. But we're not all stupid either. And I think what we need to do is stand up and go, right, well, hang on a minute. This is diametrically opposed to what is common sense. And therefore, I shouldn't be doing it. And that applies to posting things out on social media just because it draws attention to you. But it also applies to organisations that are going out there going, "Have you heard about this most recent threat that could decimate your organisation? By the way, can I have 15 minutes of your time? And I'll give £50 to the Ukraine Crisis Relief Fund." Yeah, and that's where we are. How do we get back from it? People need to change.
Yeah.
You know, ethics need to change. We have no guide of ethics.
No.
We have bodies and we have.
Someone described it as an event at an event I went to. Someone described it as social media being an amplifier for human behavior. And they said that it turns the dial up on all human behavior. So you have a situation where the good parts of human behavior that are really fun and that are really enjoyable and addictive go really high, and you really enjoy it and you become more engaged and more addicted to social media for those positive interactions. Conversely, it's also a dial the other direction, and the negative interactions are far more negative than you would get in real life. And so it just amplifies every aspect of human behavior to its extreme. And I think that's the problem that we end up in, and our interactions online become so distorted. And so I mean, even if you look on any platform, actually, the language that's being used is so sensational. We don't talk like that in real life. We don't refer to everything as catastrophic or disastrous. Like, that's not how we would converse with our friends and our peers. So I think it's really interesting that it's so amplified on social media, but it's definitely something to be aware of, because you're actually making the problem much, much worse for the people defending.
I also think there as well, what's a really good point, I love actually that sort of description of social media, but I also think as well the last point that you just made there, Mike, was around, you know, about ethics.
Sorry, Rick is just trolling me. Sorry.
No one controlling it or governing it or whatever else. I also think that's a really, really sad state of affairs, because as human beings, our moral compass should be there already. And when you're attacking and you're basically hounding or trolling, whatever you want to call it, somebody, there should be at some point, do you know what I mean? We are human beings and we haven't been dragged up. I think we should say to ourselves, hang on a minute, enough's enough. what about the person on the other end of this? What about the person that's reading this? What is the effect on that person? I don't understand where we blur the lines if we don't think about the human element of anything anymore. I know that we work in cyber. It doesn't mean that we're robots. Or
I think we've become more reactionary, Nikki, haven't we, over recent years, because we're exposed now in a way we never were before. You think about when I was a kid. Can't speak for you folks, but when I was a kid, the kind of closest community you had was like your school, and the kids in school, and you got your mates and your friends and stuff, and you had the bullies and all that kind of thing. But it was very, parochial is the best way I can describe it. It was just a very local problem or local situation and challenge, and your family and all that kind of thing. That was about as close as you got to anything interesting. And then you may have watched the news at 6 p.m. in the UK, because we have 6 o'clock news and 10 o'clock news in the UK. That's what we do. And that's how you were fed, or you consumed information about what was going on outside of your parochial situation, outside of your village or your town where you live. And that was it, that was life. People even read newspapers back in the day. Then dial forward to where we are today, where it's just a complete aerial bombardment of things that are both, it was often a lot of bullshit back then, but now it's just all bullshit with a couple of little specks of truth and usefulness sprinkled on very conservatively. And so that's where we are now. And we have to fight. We have to fight it in an aggressive way, but we have to it's a challenge for us to try and deal with. That we've got to face up to this stuff. You can't turn something on anymore without seeing stuff that you either don't believe, you don't want to know about, to find things that you do believe and you do want to know about. And that's where we're at with not just social media, but media in general, whether it's mainstream media, whether it's popular cultural media and all that kind of stuff. And that's really making life very, very hard. And obviously the problem is humans are humans, so we can't immediately just switch it off. Can't do it. Anybody that's tried to work it out for your own children or people you care about, get them prize their phone or tablet or whatever device out of their hands, it's like you're the biggest dick in the world for doing it, because you're depriving them of a thing called the black mirror. All right. So, and that's where we're at. And what we can thank for it is the conditioning that we've had over consumerism and access to information and the way that it's been piped at us. Our right to be able to go and find things that we want to know about have been completely removed now and replaced by things that want to come and find us. And that's where we're at. And it's never going to go away, unfortunately.
Okay, there's a few questions I think we should move on to the next section. So
can I just say one last thing before we do the questions? It will be really, really quick, I promise.
Can I do a mic?
I think this
me and talk over me. I just want to do a mic thing.
Are we gonna fight?
You did do that
now.
You did do that, Lisa.
Am I on strike 1 or strike 2? I forget.
It wasn't a fight.
Carry on, Lisa, as you are.
I just want to say one point that Mike raised, which was really interesting, which he said about basically sort of independent thinking and fact checking. And actually, I think this is a problem that has started to plague individuals at a more fundamental level. So when I'm running exercises or when I'm helping companies with their incident response plans, one thing that I notice a lot is almost an inability to differentiate between fact, i.e., we know this has happened, we know the credit card details have been leaked, or we know XYZ has happened, versus kind of speculation, or we suspect this might have happened. And typically what you'd have seen was a strategy to be able to move from, we think this might have happened, how do we move it into, we know this has happened, and then act upon it. And that seems to have completely disappeared. And what you see is people making decisions off of rumor and suspicion, not moving it into the realms of fact and checking. And I wonder how much of that is due to the constant consumption of social media, where we don't fact check. I don't fact check anything, really, not hugely. If I see something online that's in something that I think is reputable, I don't go and verify it across 5, 6, 7 different sources. And I'm wondering, like, whether we've almost lost that ability a little bit. Anyway,
I think just quickly on that, that's really important, because I think we've lost the ability to think for ourselves. So whereas you know, 4 or 5 years ago, I used to have to get up in the morning and think about what I was going to share on social media around our industry. You know, I used to have to think about it and put my own words around it and whatever else. Now I can literally get up in the morning, I can look at Lisa's feed, or I can look at Ian's feed.
Don't
or
look at mine. Don't look at Ian's. Definitely don't look at
But
Ian's.
do you know what I mean? There's people, there's lots of people in the industry. I can look at their feed, I can look at the article they've shared, I can lift that out, I can even click a link, like a button on the article's page that even gives me the wording to put round my tweet, and I tweet it. So it's made us lazy. I think it's made us lazy. That's not necessarily my thoughts around it. Have I read the whole article? And you know, the bit blurb that I put around the top of what I've shared, is that my own thoughts? No, it's not. We've become lazy. You know, the social media channels and news channels have enabled us to become lazy. Does that make it right? Absolutely not. I don't know what the answer is, but it's there. Well, I've got a question. So from Tom Quinn, how do we think PR teams have contributed? Every attack is sophisticated and everyone takes security seriously. So
Not anymore, Tom, because if it's a sophisticated attacker and attributed to a nation state, your insurance won't cover you. So now it has to be a 16-year-old in their bedroom, otherwise you're not covered. Attribution has changed.
Attribution
Mic
has been
drop.
weaponized by the insurance industry. 100% that.
Which in
Lisa,
the case of Talk, it was a 16-year-old in the bedroom.
not what was it? Electronic jihadists working from an undisclosed Middle Eastern country.
Correct. Russia backed, by the way, because we
Oh, they're always Russian backed.
blame
100%.
Russia. Have we got any more questions? Because I want to move us on to our awards.
We have one more.
Yep.
So Rick Ferguson says outrage is a highly addictive and extremely contagious condition, and was only discovered in the social media age. It's not really a question, it's a statement, which I happen to agree with.
Me too.
Anger is my cardio, Rick.
And then Kaz has said, I think if the company make it hard, if not impossible, for security to do their job properly, this elude not covering for education certifications to gain the needed skill, then it's on the company itself, and the company should be called out on it. But many times there's also the case that everyone did their job properly, they just got hit with a bigger threat than they had expected to be targeted by, and thus you can't really blame them too much, as there will always be a threat bigger than your defense. Absolutely 100% agree with that.
100%. There's always something you can do to avoid a cybersecurity incident, but it's whether or not the legacy of that organization has made the proper investments. I mean, Lisa deals with this all the time when she rocks up, brings her skill set, takes an organization through their worst day in their life. Hopefully, when that worst day in their life is realized, maybe not, they'll do a better job of it. So Kaz is 100% on the money. This is why we can't just, something bad happened, we're just going to kick the security team, we're going to kick the IT team. No, that bad has a legacy. And it needs to be called out. And sadly, unfortunately, we're living in a society where we're always looking for something to blame. I'm just going to add one more little caveat thing. I wrote an article which I never published, and I might have the guts to publish it one day, but it's called The Death of Analysis. Everything that we've talked about tonight comes down to one thing. We're no longer interested in thinking. We just want the simple answer.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that laziness, that intellectual laziness, I think is almost the biggest threat actor that is no one wants to talk about.
Yeah.
You're nodding, you're saying yes.
100% agree. Like the fact that we are too lazy to sit and think for ourselves and work it out.
In this day and age, Lisa, we don't have to do anything, do we?
No.
As a society, and that's not just the UK, that's global. We are lazy, Whereas before, if I wanted to be a fat bitch and I wanted to go and eat, do you know what I mean, the whole of Domino's, I had to go like 6 miles down the road to I don't anymore. I can order it for fucking breakfast. Let's be real, on any app I like.
And I think Twitter ought to actually have a situation, if you retweet a news article, or LinkedIn or whatever platform, it says Lisa hasn't actually read this article. She has just hit retweet. That would be epic, because I think actually the number of people who are probably even clicking on that article and reading it beyond the headline that you see in the kind of image, I think is probably minimal.
We just appreciate as well, though, that Rick Ferguson and a few other people are commenting that my background makes it look like I'm drinking out of a bucket.
It does make it look like you're drinking out of a bucket.
It's like they don't even know me.
Gangster.
I am actually drinking out of a bucket. If you knew me.
Shall we do our awards?
Yes, yes.
Mike is getting us back on track, and he's very subtle. And
Do I have time for one more glass to pour one more glass of wine on? I
of course you do, Lisa. Come on, you make the rules.
Go for
peace
it.
out. I'm going.
Mike, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it's going really smoothly.
I'm setting us up.
I think everyone here has a yellow card right now, though, from you.
I don't think we've upset anyone, which I'm quite impressed by, because I thought that by this
Yeah.
time we've upset quite a few people.
Right. So
My
Cheers,
bucket.
guys.
Cheers
Cheers
my
to your
bucket.
bucket.
It's actually not. You can't
Cheers.
see my
Tinky,
background.
tinky.
Cheers.
Cheers. I can do that. Lisa, cheers me. But,
Cheers.
but
Oh
yeah,
no, wait. This way.
yeah.
Like, to the camera. Do the to the camera. Come on.
To the camera.
Mine
That's
won't
not the
work.
camera.
Oh, okay.
Dude, come on. You're messing this up.
I'm okay to drive.
You're not okay. You're never okay to drive. I'm probably not okay to drive either.
I don't.
Cowbell Awards. Whoop, whoop.
I don't have a license, so that's even better.
That means you're never okay to drive, dude.
right, folks.
Am I allowed to tweet these as they're announced?
You can do, yeah, absolutely.
Well, people I don't like, I'm not tweeting it, but yeah.
Thanks.
Never say anything in private you wouldn't be prepared to say in public, right?
I've just said
Ian and I are not allowed access to the Beer Farmers Twitter account. We were barred due to an uprising that we attempted to start in a small African nation.
This is true, and I am channeling my inner dictatorship.
That
Yeah.
means I'm special because I'm allowed access. So that means
We're a
I'm
really
better.
good team, though, me and Ian. We're a really good
I
team.
think it could be fun, but the problem is I'm not Italian, and you only roll with Italians.
But we could probably pass you off as American.
Oh, I might be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
But I need more flags.
You need more flags. You need a drone as well, probably.
Gotta have a drone.
Sorry.
The question
Right.
is, of course, if it becomes a battle between legend and truth, always go with legend.
Yeah, never go with truth. It's boring and predictable.
Absolutely.
truth
We
is
spent half an hour talking about a lack of truth.
The whole
Right,
panel
so-
that we just had was about truth, Lisa, and then you come. I don't think Mike's ever been on a panel where he hasn't been able to get a word in edgeways. I'll shut up, Mike. Off you go.
You're all right. Thank you.
Yeah. Done, Mike.
Right. All right. Just on the matter of Poles and Italians, because Ian's got Polish heritage.
Yeah.
The Polish army liberated Monte Cassino,
They did.
That's my area of Italy. Thank you, Ian. We thank you.
which is where my family comes from as well.
We love both of you, and
Yeah.
Nikki too, because she's awesome.
And the biggest cemetery in Monte Cassino is the Polish cemetery with a huge eagle, stone eagle carved into the hillside.
Our people were not good at dodging.
You were good at getting stuck in and getting involved. Anyway, right. So welcome everybody, the few people that have remained to the
Golden Cowbell Awards.
Ian, you can shut up now.
I'd mute him.
Welcome to the Golden Cowbell Awards 2022. So we say it like it's an annual thing. We've done it once before, and then we were going to do it another time after that. And then we
Rick. Sorry.
right, well, you better hang around then, Rick, to find
I
out.
think Rick might be Italian.
So the idea of these awards is to commemorate the goings on in the last 12 months, and we'll talk about some of the good things that have happened, some of the less good things that have happened, some of the great people, some of the not so great people, and conscious now that we're now at 12 minutes past 10 on this Wednesday evening, and we will crack on. So let's do it. So I fought the law, and the law won. And the award this year goes to Joe Sullivan. Joe Sullivan being the former head of Uber, who we touched on earlier on, who found it perfectly acceptable to have his organization hacked, and then rather than do anything responsible about it, went back to the hackers in question and then tried to fabricate, should I say, a bug bounty scheme. Paid off the intruders, and then it all of a sudden became exposed, and Joe was found guilty of a term that Ian knows, misprescience, or whatever it's called.
It's prison of felony and obstruction of justice. poor Joe, he loses all his beautiful things.
Don't do that. That would be my my advice if you're a C-level person in an organization with any level of responsibility for security.
TBF takeaway, don't lie.
Don't do that. Dubious Prospector Award goes to Lacework.
Yeah.
Now, to Rick's earlier question, are you going to name the organisation that offered 50 quid for half an hour of my time to the UK Crisis Relief Fund? It was Lacework. Their head of EMEA followed up when I complained on social media about it, and I did go public. Sent me a very apologetic message saying, in no way do we train our staff to behave in this way. And I said, I found that very hard to believe that the individual had lots and lots of £50 notes to give away to prospects. And that got called out. And I've seen other behaviour recently, which I'm not going to cover, but I did also post about that on LinkedIn. Cowbell End of the Year goes to the Honourable Jonathan Scott / Jonathan Data / Jonathan Villarreal, which is another name that person goes by. Definitely Tom, he is a cowbell end for all sorts of nefarious claims and counterclaims and trying to make up stories about various different hacking things that are going on, spywares, government complicity, and all that kind of thing.
I sort of think it should have also been Edward Snowden, because I mean he's blocked most of us at this point.
Yes, he has.
True.
If you're not blocked by Edward Snowden, are you even in InfoSec? I don't even know right now.
It's a very good
I
point.
know. But can I just make one comment about Jonathan Scott? His belief that the NSO or that the Pegasus malware by the NSO group is actually some sort of like beneficial contribution to InfoSec and society in general is about as far off the mark as you can possibly go. I'm looking for him in 2023 to be revealed as a 16-year-old kid who has invented a fake identity in order to troll all of InfoSec. That I think is going to be the story that breaks in 2023.
Yeah,
But it's
fair
all
enough.
the Google Maps, Ian. You don't understand. It's literally every single map. Every single map.
Every map. Not
Every
even,
map.
and Mars map too.
All of the maps, everyone. Every single map.
Talking of Mars, the I Am the News Award goes to, of course, Elon. Simply because he, I guess, got drunk one night, thought I'm going to buy a newspaper because that's what
I think that was like the
megalomaniacs do.
funniest thing that happened, because he got held to a tweet that he said clearly out of ego and drunkenness or whatever, wasted on something, and then they held him to that.
To be fair, it might be the biggest social media data breach ever that cost a certain individual $44 billion.
I know.
It's unbelievable.
1/10 of his wealth.
He may as well have created the metaverse. He'd have lost basically the same amount of money.
Or just got it in cash and set fire to it in a parking lot.
Yeah. And as Rick points out, the guy is a glandular secretion.
Amen. That is the Wikipedia entry for Elon Musk for sure.
And that's precisely why you'll never find me on Twitter again.
That is the quote of the evening. You can tweet that, Nikki. The quote of the evening.
Makes me feel a little bit sick in my mouth, but it is the quote of the evening.
It's almost onomatopoeic, I think.
Yeah.
So a big loss. I mean, Instagram got fined £349 million for not taking your data seriously.
Which is ironic also, because didn't WhatsApp recently have a breach, and Facebook had a breach in the last year, and Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp are all Meta. So what are we saying?
I remember in 2019 when Facebook got hammered for the Cambridge Analytica thing. We talked about it.
Not saying taking your data seriously.
Yeah, we take it seriously. We did a talk called that. But yeah, they actually made a profit adjustment of $1.4 billion US just to tidy up breach fines. And now that made me think at the time, maybe that's an annual thing now that they do on the P&L. that was
Right.
take all their income and the costs and stuff,
Take
and then put
1.4 billion.
just $1 billion of breach fines and other shit that we're going to get fined, and just make adjustments around that. It's a really clever way to do it, isn't it? When you
Sam Bankman-Fried, isn't it? It's
What is amazing about this story, though, is that not only are they, so there's more to fall out of this, Mike. Not only were they accidentally on purpose processing underage child data, which is in right now the regulatory realm of the California court, but also the ridiculousness of their approach, which is essentially they're trying to essentially pay their way out of any regulatory responsibility whatsoever. This
really
is
out of character.
Yeah, but it's almost more sinister than out of character. Oops, we're now saying, okay, we're back. And ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Please ignore that came up on the screen.
All right. Community.
Yes.
So the Community Glue Award goes to Cyber House Party because they are ever present at various different events that are all community based. They're all around people.
Poor life choices.
Yeah, like the rest of us do. But they're always there. Smaller events, larger events, always doing good fun things that bring people together, whether it be putting music on, entertainment, organising little after parties and all that kind of stuff. We had the pleasure of working with Cyber House Party at BearCon 4 in London just a month or two back. It's just that commitment to getting involved in things and helping people out and bringing people together and creating community. And that's exactly why I think personally that they deserve the award for that this time around.
Wonderful people, agreed.
Fantastic. Nikki takes the award home on behalf of Cyber House Party. A solution without a problem. So
this could be so many things.
It could be anything, couldn't it? But OpenAI and AI personally for me is still a solution without a problem generally. It's not even a solution actually because it's not even a real thing. Ian and I have had this conversation many times over the last 5 or 6 years about it being a great idea, but actually it's not a sentient thing. It's not a thing that can think for itself without any human instruction to begin with, and that can be fallible, which indicates risk in a massive scale. But OpenAI, it's a big thing that's come along. You've seen people posting their little conversations they've been having with an automaton over the past few weeks. But the solution without a problem award goes to OpenAI.
Or blockchain, generally, as a concept.
Yeah, agreed. Gone and also forgotten. The award goes to Kim Crawley, moving quickly on. Pixar, It Never Happened. Russian Cybergeddon.
Or just Russian military success would actually go into this as well, I would say.
Broadly speaking, it's been quite the journey. And right now, I wish the best to them as they try to get their camp stove started. And
not quite the military superpower that we all thought you perhaps were.
You know, like Lisa, you bring up a really interesting point on this. I feel like the military-industrial complex of the United States needs to be, or even the G19, because it's now the G19 because we tossed Russia out of it, has to be held accountable for the most giant psychological operation that we've ever seen. The fact that we feared the Russians, the Russian military for so long, from really the 90s forward, is utterly ridiculous when we see what's going on right now. It is
he's not looking like the master strategist that he put himself forward as, is he really? But
it doesn't even look like he has an army. He has a rabble. Like
I love the moment where he recruited prisoners and then released them with weapons, and then they were reported as running away, which I just thought the whole strategy was just
look at Lisa. We covered this in the 1980s. It was called the A-Team. It was the U.S. military can't handle the situation, so they hired a bike gang to do it.
There we go.
This is
It Never Happened.
Yeah, it's amazing. Great,
Amen
great.
to Rick's comment. Corrupt.
Yeah.
100%. Let's not give them any more airtime because
Just a little bit
Fuck
more
'em.
airtime, a tiny little bit more airtime.
Do it, Mike.
The reason that Pix or It Never Happened was picked as the title of the award is because we ran a project, and it's been running all year really, to generate pictures on exposed Russian printers. And we've been doing that quite extensively, and it's been quite a success. So that was why we picked the Pictures or It Didn't Happen. Don't leave your printer exposed to the internet would be the advice. All together now, really quick, the community at large. So we see it whenever we do events. BeerCon at DTX was quite remarkable, really, because we stuck a community event inside a really big trade exhibition, and it could have been a real nightmare and a failure. But what we did was we took, apparently, according to Glenn Pegden, it was a little oasis fleet or a little safe haven away from the bullshit of what you expect at an expo, which is vendors selling stuff. And I took that as a big compliment of what we'd achieved with it. But that wasn't.
we
just
also
us.
kept Ian sober for like 32% of the conference, which I think for me and Nikki, that was like a bloody good effort.
As KPIs go, Lisa, that's doubled.
32% of the
Yeah.
conference.
It's doubled the norm. It's
double
normally
the
around
norm.
15-16%, I reckon,
Okay.
at best.
I'd like to say something just quickly without getting all mushy and everything else, which I am known for. Obviously, a huge blow to us the week before, Mike not coming down. And for me and Lisa, having joined Beer Farmers, and then to get the opportunity to do this, an event, we didn't have any idea what to expect. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn there, am I, Lisa? We had no
Nope.
idea what to expect. When I walked in there on the Tuesday night before the conference, with my other half Andy, and we walked in to find Ian and Atomic Mayor and whatever else. The whole area that DTX had done for us, so huge kudos to them, was amazing. But just the whole vibe for those 2 days from the people from within the Beer Farmers community, people that I'd never met, it was just absolutely amazing. And the people that got in touch with me after to say the people that had spoken, there was like people from my Caps Lock cohorts that spoke for the first time, wouldn't have done it wouldn't have had the opportunity to do it at DTX, but they had the opportunity to do it in a smaller conference within this big conference.
Mhm.
Was absolutely amazing. And I'd like to personally say huge thanks to Mike and Ian, for having us along for the ride, because DTX for me, I didn't think it could beat last year, which was my first in-person cyber house party. But this year, Beer Farmers all day within DTX, followed by cyber house party, was insane. It's absolutely the best 2 days of my career so far.
That's nice to hear, Nikki. Thank you for that.
And we raised so many donations for the food
Yeah.
bank, which was phenomenal. And we all walked down the donations to the food bank, who were incredibly thankful. And it was really touching to see the sort of food and drink and everything we had available at DTX, and then to go down to the food bank and see the sort of things they had available, and the donations that people had gone and to Tesco's and they'd gone to the store to buy, soups and spaghetti and all this different stuff to bring it down. I just really felt that it was a really nice way to give back to the community that probably were in there cleaning and setting up and doing stuff at the same time. So everyone who donated, huge thank you, because that was phenomenal.
Hugely humbling experience, and I'm grateful for it. So
and I think we found a format as well, which we questioned it ourselves when it came along as an idea. Is it the right thing to do? Will it come across as being a bit of a sellout, the band going off to a major record label, name your cliche, whatever? But the reason we did it really prevailed, which was to try and connect the community with the industry.
Yeah,
we spend a lot of time panning the industry, and we've done a lot of it tonight, right? But it's people. Everything's about people, and that opportunity to create a little, not a bubble, because it wasn't a bubble, because people were coming along that were all going to see Cisco and Fortinet and all the rest of it. We're all there to get involved, and and the outcome of that has been more of the same. You know, can we do it again next year? Other event organisers have come up with us and gone, we'd like to do a similar thing with you. So it's proved itself to be worth the effort. Ian, did you want to?
Yeah, the only
What?
sad thing was apparently somebody took a dump on the Solar Winds booth. And I don't know who they are, but it wasn't appropriate. I think it was
I'm
really
gonna put
fast.
money on the fact it was you.
There's no evidence that would suggest that, Lisa.
I did it on the dark trade stand because Mike Thompson paid me to before.
That's true. And on the SolarWinds stand,
Jesus
there was
Christ.
there was a report. It wasn't fact checked. I saw it on social media, but it was that the dump smelt of maple syrup.
Mhm. Yeah, there
Can I
is.
just say Nikki is a traitor because
Oh,
some of us, and I'm not naming names actually,
The
but some of us,
community.
and Mike wasn't there,
So
and me and Ian were not
community-
involved.
Right, okay, they did really good smoothies and it sorted out my hangover. And also Tom Quinn's still in the audience and he had one too, and they were banging.
They were.
They were banging.
Yeah, their smoothies that they were making on the dark tray stand at DTX were banging. When I got it on the first morning, I didn't realise it was dark trays.
We all know what Nikki's price is now. Decent smoothie, done.
Normally, Lisa would go full Italian and just ask for a payment, or their stand burns to the ground
I
mysteriously.
took a dump on their stand later in the day, so I kind of like, it's yin and yang, isn't it?
Jesus Christ. Can't deal with this.
Let's move on.
Yeah, that.
Move on.
Apologies,
Oh, there's
listeners.
my bestie.
Apologies, listeners. It can't be easy, this. But yeah, trust me, I'm a I'm a crypto
Thrilled
bro.
to see him win an award. Absolutely love this dude.
I like the fact
Oh,
that his name is pronounced Sam Bankman-Fried, but the idea of
You
You know
won't be
who should have
free
won this
for
award?
long.
the
You
idea
know
of
who should have
Fried
won this
works.
award? Sam Bankman-Fried's bloody lawyers, who are absolute fucking rock stars.
Here we go.
Because Sam Bankman-Fried's lawyers are like, don't talk to the press, don't give interviews. And Sam Bankman-Fried's like, fuck you. I'm giving an interview and I'm going to say fuck the regulators in that interview. And I'm going to say I conned people and then I'm going to see you defend me. So I actually think this should go to the lawyers of Sam Bankman-Fried. Huge shout out. You're doing an epic job because wow.
He is frying himself, so Sam Bankman will be fried. And you're right enough, Lisa. He's gone on telly and said, well, I don't remember lying.
I've never seen a person willing to strap themselves to the outside of the rocket ship.
And explode the rocket.
Unbelievable.
The best bit for me was, I think, his interview, which he claimed he didn't know was an interview, where he was talking to a journalist over Twitter DMs. And he said to this guy was like, so, you know, you've been kind of lobbying for more regulation in the Bitcoin space. You've been kind of lobbying for crypto regulation and for more regulator involvement. And then simultaneously, you're doing all this stuff. So what was that about? And he was just like, it was just lies. It was just PR just to piss off Binance, who are my biggest competitor, which I thought was hilarious. And then the second thing he said, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. The guy said to him, like, so just before you filed for bankruptcy, something like $400 million worth of crypto went missing. What happened? And he just went like this. Hacked.
Next question. Exit strategy.
Brilliant. It was just hacked. Just at that one moment, just everything just got hacked. It was like, eh.
Yeah. I am amazed, and especially when the interview started with, and I think Lisa, you shared me the link with the interview, is like, here in my amazing mansion in the Bahamas.
And my parents, who are Stanford educators, who obviously earn, I don't know what, $50,000, $60,000, who own like $6.5 million homes.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Nothing shady.
You could,
Legit.
you could create like a little a bingo list, couldn't you, of all of the 3-letter acronym organizations that are going to be on Sam Bankman-Fried's back. So let me think of some
Can
off
you
the top of my
imagine
head.
being his lawyers?
Yeah, but
Oh my God.
he's gonna have the FTC,
Yeah.
the SEC.
Yeah.
He's gonna have the DEA,
FBI.
Yeah.
definitely the FBI.
Oh yeah.
Quite
Mike,
possible. Yeah,
for the DEA part, if you look at his hair, 100% coked up almost
Absolutely.
the time. Yeah.
absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
3-letter agency.
Let's move on. And then we have the final award,
Oh,
the
yeah,
actual Golden Cowbell Award,
yeah.
which we have given out a physical Golden Cowbell to the winner of this in the past.
And we will again.
And we will again when we have the opportunity. But the winner this year is Lisa Ventura.
Yeah.
And Lisa is very good at trying to pull everything together, pull people together. She has, like the rest of us, plenty of adversity in her life. Her probably maybe more than many. But she's always incredibly positive. She always tries to work to build community. She's always incredibly cheerful despite whatever's going on behind the scenes. Yeah, we need you to get the. Have you got the cowbell, Ian, kicking around?
You know what?
Ian and I have an appointment going to an agricultural facility where we have a couple of items to steal, one of which is the cowbell. We won't discuss the others because everyone else on this call will have to pass a lie detector in the future. But
Okay.
This
Fair
is what I'm going to say about Lisa. She has the right balance of an FF that if she was on her deathbed, she would throw it out every Friday. And she has a lot of love in her heart. The other thing that I appreciate is on her Instagram, she is always drinking, and there's great dog pictures. As which Instagram was made for, other than basically lingerie models. So to be fair, I think Lisa really deserved it. She worked hard this year. She invested in the community. She supported the community. And based on dog pics alone of Poppy, I'm all on board with this nomination, Mike. Has my full support.
Fair enough. I think I agree.
talking about it.
What? Don't you follow her on Instagram?
I'm just saying it's like
What?
a bit much. It's a bit much.
What? Really?
Turn it
Yeah.
down a little bit.
Yeah, let's not. Please.
Really?
Anyhow,
I believe that makes it InfoSec happy hour. So is there any way that we can put everyone's video on and unmute everyone that's still left here?
Yes, bring them all in.
There's a way to do that, right?
Mike,
yeah,
we're
absolutely.
looking at you.
So
And do
what
we
I
want to
can do-
turn recording off for this off the record moment? Where
Yeah,
we're
I'm stopping the recording.